Part 11. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 101. A few minutes later, Naruto and the others also arrived at the examination room. Kakashi-sensei, why are you here? Naruto walked over carelessly and looked a little surprised when he saw Kakashi standing at the entrance. Are you ready? Kakashi did not answer Naruto's question, but asked the three of them. Of course. It's just a Chunin exam, Naruto Uzumaki, can pass it with just one hand. Naruto laughed and said with his hands on his hips. Kakashi glanced helplessly at Naruto, who was uttering wild words. Among the three students, he was actually the most worried about Naruto. Because the first test was a written test, and Naruto, when I was in the ninja school, my grades in other classes were good, but in the culture class, I was really in a mess. Fool. Keep a low profile. Sakura grabbed Naruto angrily. This guy looked like he deserved a beating when he was arrogant. It would be terrible if they were targeted by other candidates. Okay, since you have chosen to participate, let's go in. Kakashi pointed to the door behind him and said to the three of them. Then Mr. Kakashi, let's go in first. Naruto smiled and was about to walk in, but as soon as he took a few steps, he saw Ryusuke, who was chatting with Yoi Kurane over there. Ryusuke. When did you come? Naruto smiled and ran over. Naruto, I just arrived not long ago. Ryusuke. Yagami said with a smile. Then why don't you go in? Naruto asked curiously. Wait a while, the exam hasn't started yet. Ryusuke Yagami said. At this time, Sasuke and Sakura also came over. 720 Ryusuke, I won't lose to you this time. Sasuke looked at Ryusuke Yagami with a fighting spirit. Since the last time he activated the single-eyed double Megatama in the Wave Country mission, Sasuke felt that his strength had improved a lot this time. He will never do it again. Continue to lose miserably to Ryusuke Yagami? Oh. Then come on. Ryusuke Yagami said perfunctorily. Sasuke. Damn Ryusuke, he's like this again. Sasuke glared angrily, then grabbed Naruto next to him and walked towards the examination room in front. Sasuke, let me go, I still have something to ask Ryusuke. Ask whatever you want. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me. Sasuke, is it really okay? Shut up. Don't make any strange noises. Sakura. Looking at Sasuke pulling Naruto away in front of him, Sakura, who felt as if she had been abandoned, could only follow him with a grimace. Sasuke and Naruto. Sakura muttered, feeling that Sasuke and Naruto were getting closer and closer recently. On the contrary, she was the only girl in the team, and she felt excluded by the two boys. Even Naruto, his own bitch. Sakura also felt that he seemed to be hiding something from her. Kakashi's class 7 is quite interesting. Zihihong smiled and looked at the three little guys who had walked away. Yes, Naruto and Sasuke are really interesting. Ryusuke Yagami nodded in agreement. What about Sakura? Zihihong asked him. Sakura. Ryusuke Yagami thought for a while and said, it's probably a pendant. The sunset is red. She slapped Yagami Ryusuke angrily. How sad it would be if a girl heard what you said. Yoihong said. Yes, it's a bit rude of you to say that, Yagami Ryusuke. I think Haruno Sakura is quite good. She is the glue of the team. Every genin team cannot lack such a person. At this time, Asuma on the side suddenly came over and educated Ryusuke Yagami like an elder. Kakashi. Asuma is hopeless. Shaking his head, all the students he brought went in anyway, so Kakashi left directly. As for Asuma? Feel sorry. His relationship with Asuma is not as good as this yet. Adhesive? Isn't that just a pendant? Ryosuke Yagami glanced at Asuma lightly. What you said? Asuma wanted to say something else, but Yoi Kurane had already pulled Yagami Ryosuke to the other side. Seeing this scene, Asuma's face turned green and white as he stood there. Very ugly. I am despised. He felt very sad when he looked at Yoi Hong, who showed no secret of her disdain for him. Obviously the two of them are still classmates. When we were in school, we were friends after all, right? Why is Hong so cold to herself now? Do you even hate the way you look? It must be because of Ryosuke Yagami. It's this damn little brat that's why Hong hates me. Asuma thought to himself. His instinct told him that this kid must be talking bad things about him to Hong behind his back. Otherwise, why would Hong hate herself so much? Ryosuke Yagami didn't know these thoughts in Asuma's heart. If he knew, he would definitely scream innocent. He has no habit of speaking ill of people behind their backs. Asuma is wronging him. It was obvious that Yoi Hong hated him because of the smell of cigarette smoke all over his body and all kinds of stalking pursuits. In the end, Asuma wanted to blame all this on Ryosuke Yagami. How innocent he is. Ryosuke, don't talk to that guy. Yoi Hong pulled Yagami Ryosuke to the side and said to him. Does Sister Hong hate Asuma? Ryosuke Yagami glanced at Asuma, who was performing a face-changing trick over there, and also asked. That guy is so annoying. I even told him that I don't want to have a boyfriend, but he still stalks me all day long, and he also wants to use his status as the Hokage-san to bring down classes 8 and 10. Arrange to perform tasks together. Is there such a thing? I have never heard of Ryosuke Yagami. It was a sea-level mission, but I refused. Yoi Kurane said. She didn't want to go on a mission with an annoying guy like Asuma. In that case, her ears would definitely suffer. That's really annoying. Ryosuke. Yagami nodded and said, would you like to teach him a lesson so that he can stay away from you, Sister Hong? No, Ryosuke, you are messing around. Yoi Kurane pulled Yagami Ryosuke nervously. Although Asuma is annoying, he is also the Hokage-san after all. If you have a conflict with him, it will not be good for you. Sister Hong, are you worried about me? Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. You are my brother. Isn't it normal to care about you? Yoi Kurane's eyes moved away unnaturally, and suddenly she didn't dare to look at Yagami Ryosuke. Just a younger brother. Yagami Ryosuke suddenly took a step forward, pressed his body close to Yoi Kurane, and asked in her ear. Feeling her waist being held by Yagami Ryosuke, Yoi Kurane felt a little panicked and couldn't help but blush. She was nervous. He whispered, Ryosuke, don't be like this, there are others here. Does that mean it's okay when there's no one else around? Ryosuke Yagami asked her. No. Zihihong pushed him gently but didn't push him away. Damn it! How dare they? Asuma looked at the two people over there making love with each other angrily. It felt like a green light was coming from his head. Ryosuke Yagami didn't do anything further to Kurane Yoi here, he just wanted to see it's just Yoi Kurane's attitude towards him. Now it seems that Yoi Kurane doesn't completely treat him as a younger brother. This is enough. The next step will naturally be a long time. After all, he is only 12 years old. A few minutes later. Yagami Ryosuke, Ino's class 10, and Hinata's class 8 walked into the examination room for the first exam. In the examination room, most of the candidates had already arrived. Discussions were going on in groups. The content of the exam came down. Ryosuke Yagami glanced around and saw many familiar people. For example, the Gaara trio over there. There was also Kabuto the pharmacist who wore glasses and looked harmless. And the trio of sound ninjas who will be receiving their lunch boxes soon. There are quite a few acquaintances. Ryosuke Yagami said in his heart. Next, without the intervention of Ryosuke Yagami, Kabuto Yakushi came over and became familiar with Naruto and the others. For this, he was taught a lesson and beaten by the three sound ninjas. His glasses were broken. I have to say, Kabuto Yakushi's acting skills are really good. There was no flaw in the weak look he put on. Soon, the examiner of the first exam, Marino Iiki, also arrived. Marino Iiki is Konoha's special jounin and is good at torture. As the examiner of the first exam, he scared many timid candidates as soon as he appeared. Later, the first exam rules were also announced by Marino Heike. After hearing that if you are caught cheating 5 times, you will be eliminated from the team, many confident candidates also showed worried expressions on their faces. Now, the exam begins. Marino Iiki announced loudly. Ryosuke Yagami also opened the examination paper on the table at this time and looked at the questions on it. Well, it's all quite difficult. Ryosuke Yagami found that the questions on the exam paper were several times more difficult than the papers when he graduated from 6th grade. Many of the questions above were actually a bit over the top. However, these were not a problem for him. When he graduated, during the exam, Ryosuke Yagami also got full marks in his theory class. Otherwise, why would he become the top student? It's because he ranked first in every subject, so he was able to surpass everyone else and become the top student of this class. Chief student. Shushushu. For a moment, the only sound left in the examination room was the sound of candidates writing. It took Ryosuke Yagami more than 10 minutes to complete all the questions on this examination paper. Then he put down his pen and looked at the others around him. Naruto's position was not far to his left. Ryosuke Yagami clearly saw that the exam paper in front of Naruto was still blank, so he just wrote his name. Sure enough, he is indeed Naruto. Ryosuke Yagami looked at Naruto, who was still scratching his head, and smiled. Then he looked at Ino and Hinata. Both of them were writing hard at the moment, and it seemed like they were relying on their own knowledge. They were preparing to answer the questions, but in fact, they all relied on their own methods to cheat to get the answers. Ino and Hinata obviously didn't need Yagami Ryosuke to worry about anything. Their abilities were used in this exam, and it couldn't be easier to pass. But that's it. But Sasuke on the other side, Ryosuke Yagami discovered that he seemed to have copied the wrong line. It was obviously the answer to the previous question, but he copied it to the position of the next question. But Sasuke didn't know it yet, and he looked full of confidence. The corners of Ryosuke Yagami's mouth twitched slightly, then his eyes shifted to look at the other candidates. This guy is quite leisurely. Standing in front of the podium, Marino Iiki also noticed Yagami Ryosuke, who had been looking around. However, because he had already finished answering, he did not stop him from looking around so blatantly. Regarding Yagami Ryosuke, even if he lives in seclusion, Marino Iiki has also heard of him as a civilian genius. It is said that the Hokage values him very much and deliberately arranges for him to be included in the Chunin examination on May 4 to dampen the spirit of other villages. In this regard, Marino Iiki, I am really looking forward to seeing the outstanding performance of this civilian genius. And judging from this first exam alone, the other party is worthy of being valued by the civilian genius and Hokage-sama. He does have some abilities. You have 25 minutes left. At this time, Marino Iiki glanced at the time on the clock and announced loudly again. Some candidates who were already very nervous because they couldn't solve the questions became even more nervous. And when people are nervous, it is easy to make some wrong judgments. Ever since, in the next 10 minutes, candidates were constantly caught for cheating. And some who cheated more than 5 times were directly eliminated from the team. 10 minutes later, the first exam is over. The remaining candidates breathed a sigh of relief. They were very nervous just now. Fortunately, they were not eliminated like those unlucky ones. Next, I will announce the last question of the first exam, and you can choose to answer it or not. When Marino Iaki saw these candidates who were relieved, he couldn't help but reveal a ferocious smile. And the candidates who heard his words also looked at him curiously. "Examiner, what is the last question?" Someone raised their hand and asked. "Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries." Author, MRMO. Chapter 102. For the last question, you have two choices. Marino Heiki's cold eyes swept over the faces of every candidate in the audience. Choose an answer. You may get it right, but you may also get it wrong. And once you answer incorrectly, you will forever lose the opportunity to be promoted to Chunin. In other words, you have to be genin for the rest of your life. What? After hearing this rule, most of the candidates looked shocked. Only a handful of candidates looked disapproving. Have you been a genin all your life? How can you, a special jounin, be qualified to make such a decision? Things. Even if this is the rule announced by the Sandaime Hokage. Don't forget, there are candidates from other villages here. Hisarutobi Hiruzen can control the ninjas of Konoha. Is it possible that he can control other ninja villages? Use a question to decide whether a ninja will spend his whole life as a ninja. This sounds like it is just used to scare people. These candidates who have seen through everything have probably guessed the purpose of the examiner. It is to screen out the last batch of those who have no courage. Candidate. If you don't even dare to be a genin for the rest of your life, how can you have the courage to face up to the difficulties and face life and death tasks in the future? People like this are obviously not qualified to be promoted to mid-level. Forbearance. Of course, if you are smart enough to see through all this, that is another matter. Smart people are given preferential treatment no matter where they are. But if you just have a smart mind and don't have if you have matching strength, you will still be eliminated in the subsequent exams. You will also not be promoted to Chunin. Isn't this too inhumane? I can only be a genin my whole life, so how can I become Hokage? 04. Did he become Hokage directly from genin? Thinking about it, you know this is impossible. Naruto listened to the rules for the 10th question announced by Marino Iaki, and immediately scratched his head anxiously. His eyes frequently looked at Sasuke not far away, hoping to get some improvement. But at this time, Sasuke's situation was no better than Naruto's. What a good person! At this moment, he was also struggling with whether to answer the 10th question. If he could only be a ninja for the rest of his life, how could he kill Uchiha Itachi to avenge his parents' clan? If that was the case, how could he still? It would be better to defect and leave the village. But if he really defected, where could he go alone? Moreover, when Sasuke thought of defecting, the first thing he thought of was Naruto. Why are you feeling a little reluctant for no reason? Just when Sasuke and Naruto were secretly anxious and even thinking wildly, Marino Iaki had explained the rules of the 10th question clearly and then announced that they would make a choice. Answer or not. After a while, some timid candidates raised their hands and stood up. I chose not to answer the 10th question. These candidates, along with their teammates, were all asked to leave the examination room. About 5 or 6 minutes. The number of candidates in the examination room has dropped by 1/3. In other words, this 10th question alone has reduced the number of candidates who were not eliminated by 1/3. At this moment, Naruto was still flirting with Sasuke, and the two seemed to be communicating in some form of consciousness using a very novel communication method. Without Naruto's inspiring speech, some candidates who were not determined enough also raised their hands and left the examination room one after another. Soon, there are only about half of the candidates left in the examination room. Is there anyone else? Does anyone want to withdraw from this exam? Marino Iaki asked again. Seeing that no one quit, a smile appeared on his ferocious face. Great, congratulations to you all for passing the 10th question. Huh. Many candidates here looked at the examiner dumbfounded. The so-called 10th question is actually a test of whether you have the courage to choose to continue answering the question. If you don't even have this courage, you will not be qualified to continue the next exam. Marino Iaki announced the true meaning of the 10th question. Those candidates who had already guessed the content of the 10th question just smiled lightly, as if everything was under their control. And those candidates who were lucky enough to pass the test, he looked like he was surviving the disaster. He was very glad that he did not choose to quit. At this moment, ping! The glass of the examination room window was suddenly shattered, followed by a banner that flew into the examination room and was nailed to the opposite wall. Brush! A banner. The figure followed and jumped into the examination room. Everyone, listen, I am the examiner of your second exam, everyone follow me now. The dashing Mitarashi Anko felt that she must be extremely cool right now. However, in fact, everyone was looking at her as if she were a fool. Especially Marino Hiki, who was almost hit just now. The corners of his mouth twitched, and he had the urge to curse. Why is no one talking? Haha. Were you scared by the way I appeared? Anko still thought she was cool, and laughed. Yagami Ryasuke, who was sitting in his seat, slapped him on the forehead, looking blank. How funny! He thought to himself. The examination room for the second exam was outside the Forest of Death. Outside the Forest of Death, surrounded by a barbed wire fence, the candidates who passed the first exam gathered here. Okay, everyone, listen up. Hongdo announced loudly, the next second test will be held in the Forest of Death behind you. Each of your groups will get a scroll of heaven and earth. The team that collects 2 scrolls of heaven and earth can go to death, the central tower of the forest, qualified for promotion. Remember, in the Forest of Death, any other team you encounter may be your enemy, regardless of whether they are from the same village. You only have 5 days. The second exam will end in 5 days. Any team that fails to rush to the central tower with 2 scrolls of heaven and earth within 5 days will be considered a failure in the exam and will be eliminated. Hearing the rules of the second exam announced by Hongdu, all the candidates realized that this time they were going to get serious. If one person does not do well, someone will really die. Unlike the first exam, even if they are eliminated, they will not be able to do it. They just lost the qualification to continue the exam. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. In the Forest of Death behind them, in the next 5 days, no one knows how many people will lose their lives here. Thinking of this, some candidates who are not confident enough in their own strength are already starting to fear. And those candidates who are particularly confident in their own strength are now looking around with confidence, as if every other the team is like their prey. Now, all teams come to me to receive the scroll of heaven and earth. Hongdu is very satisfied with the expressions of these candidates. Ninjas are not playing tricks. Death is a normal thing for ninjas. If you don't even have the courage to face death, then just stop being a ninja and go home to feed yourself. Go for it. Hongdu, give me a scroll of heaven and earth. Ryasuke Yagami was the first to go over and received a scroll of heaven and earth from Anko. Hello. Please pay attention to your own safety. Anko looked at Ryasuke Yagami in front of her. Although the two of them would quarrel every time they met, at times like this, Anko was still quite concerned about Ryasuke Yagami's safety. Okay, it's just a small scene. Ryasuke Yagami shook the scroll of heaven in his hand, and then walked to one of the entrances to the Forest of Death. He did not go in immediately, but stood at the entrance and waited for others. Each team will be assigned a different entrance into the Forest of Death. Ryasuke Yagami planned to help Hinata and Ino collect the scrolls of heaven and earth first, and then go to Orochimaru. Soon, one team after another received their own scrolls of heaven and earth from different entrances. Entering the Forest of Death, Ryasuke Yagami stared at 2 of the teams. After the other team entered the Forest of Death, he instantly disappeared in place. In the forest of death, the sun's rays cannot reach the interior of the forest. Everyone here, every plant is astonishingly big. Large trees that require 20 or 30 people to embrace are everywhere here. There are even various huge beasts. These beasts are also one of the tests that candidates who enter the death forest need to face. At this time, somewhere in the forest, a 3-person team from the Grass Ninja Village is moving forward cautiously. Be careful, our first goal is to join up with another team first. When the time comes that we gather the strength of 6 people, the other teams will definitely not be our opponents. This team from the Grass Ninja Village was on its way to meet up with another 3-person team from the Grass Ninja Village. At this moment, a figure suddenly walked out of the darkness in front, blocking their way. Careful! The 3 people from the Grass Ninja Village instantly stood back to back. It seems like he's the only one. Be careful, his teammates may be hiding in the dark. Wait, I remember he was the only guy who took the Chunin exams alone. A 1-person team? It turns out to be this Konoha genin, then it's okay. After realizing that there was really only 1 person on the other side, the 3 genin of the Grass Ninja Village instantly relaxed. Since there was only 1 person on the other side, what else did they have to be afraid of? Is it possible that the 3 of them couldn't defeat the other one? Even if it was, what about the genin of the 5 great nations? Hello. You, a genin of Konoha, are really not afraid of death. Cut. Do you think you are from a ninja village of the 5 major countries and look down on ninjas from small countries like us? Teach him a lesson and let him know how powerful our Grass Ninja Village is. The 3 genin of the Grass Ninja Village looked proudly at Ryusuke Yagamai walking over there. Hello. Hand over your scroll of heaven and earth quickly. Yes, hand it over. The 3 of them shouted, still happy in their hearts. They didn't expect that they were so lucky to meet the only one who was the softest persimmon. At this time, Yagamai Ryusuke, who came out of the darkness, also swept his eyes across the front. These 3 people. Grass Ninja Village. I remember there was a kunoichi named Xiangren in your village, right? Ryusuke Yagamai asked. Xianglin? How do you, a guy from Konoha, know about the existence of Xianglin? When the 3 Grass Ninja genin heard this, they looked at him in surprise. It seems that Xianglin is not in your team. Ryusuke Yagamai shook his head, forget it, let's deal with you first. Brat, stop being so arrogant, there are 3 of us here. When the 3 genin from the Grass Ninja Village heard this, they immediately said angrily. Ninjas from a great country are indeed very annoying. Come on, kill him first. The 3 Grass Ninjas instantly rushed towards Yagamai Ryusuke with Kuno. They were born in a small country and had only learned some of the most basic ninja skills. Ninjutsu. Sorry, the 3 of them don't know it at all. At most they are 3 bodies. He is relatively proficient in using the technique, but that's all. Yagamai Ryusuke looked at the 3 Grass Ninjas who were attacking him, and he didn't expect that these 3 guys were so good at it. But if he thought about it carefully, if they had a little bit of skill, if it were true, it would be impossible for Uzumaki Korin to be assigned to another team. In itself, Uzumaki Korin is not in their team, which already shows that their strength is very weak. 3 bloody lights flashed in an instant. Flash. Yagamai Ryusuke's figure appeared behind the 3 of them. He slowly sheathed his ninja sword. Then he turned around and walked to the bodies of the 3 Grass Ninjas, and found their scrolls of heaven and earth from them. Scroll of earth. I didn't expect Ryusuke Yagamai to have good luck. The first team he found had exactly the earth scroll he needed. Find the next one. Ryusuke Yagamai disappeared instantly. A minute later, Ryusuke Yagamai found the second team. After casually killing the 3 genin from outside the village, he found another earth scroll from their corpses, and then left again for the third team. A few minutes later, Ryusuke Yagamai had collected 2 sets of scrolls of heaven and earth. Then he sensed the location of Ino and Hinata, and used the flying thunder god Konoha they carried with them to teleport directly there. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 103. Somewhere in the Forest of Death. Ino, Shikamaru, and Koji walked carefully in the forest. Shikamaru, should we find a team to snatch their scrolls now, or should we find a place to discuss countermeasures first? Ino asked the smartest person in the team. At this time, Ino would not be stubborn and insist on following his own ideas. After all, if a smart teammate like Shikamaru doesn't take advantage of it, it would be all in vain. Let's discuss it first. Our strength is not strong among these teams. If we encounter a very strong team, we may be eliminated immediately. Shikamaru said. Koji, what do you think? Ino asked Koji beside him. I listened to Shikamaru. Dinkai said. Okay, let's find a place to discuss it first. How about going to a tree? Ino pointed to the big trees around. At this moment. Brush. A figure appeared in front of Ino. Who? The 3 of them were shocked. It's me. Ryusuke Yagamai said from his mouth. Ah. Ryusuke. Ino rushed forward with surprise on his face and hugged Ryusuke Yagamai. Shikamaru behind him also patted his chest. He was really scared just now. I said, why are you so mysterious? Shikamaru said angrily. Isn't this a scroll for you? Ryusuke Yagamai took out a set of heaven and earth scrolls from his arms. What kind of scroll are you? He asked. Ours is the scroll of heaven. Ino said immediately. Then take this earth scroll. Ryusuke Yagamai handed them a scroll of earth in his hand. Take them and go directly to the central tower. I have to send a scroll to Hinata and the others, so I won't accompany you. But I will let one of my shadow clones follow you to protect your safety along the way. Ryusuke Yagamai created a shadow clone that carried part of his own chakra and arranged for him to protect the 3 people in Team 10. Ah! Ryusuke, won't you come with us? When Ino heard that Ryusuke Yagamai was about to leave, he immediately showed a disappointed expression. Be good. You go to the central tower to rest first, I have some things to deal with here. Ryusuke Yagamai touched Ino's little head, and then kissed her on the forehead. Well, you have to come quickly. We'll wait for you at the central tower. Ino nodded obediently and did not insist on letting Ryusuke Yagamai go with them. Ryusuke, you should also be careful. I feel like something is not right with some of the teams this time. Shikamaru reminded Yagamai. Ryusuke. Don't worry, they can't do anything to me yet. Ryusuke. Yagamai said confidently. I'm leaving first. We'll see you at the central tower in 2 days. After Yagamai Ryusuke finished speaking, he disappeared directly from the place with the flying thunder god. Is this the art of flying thunder god? Shikamaru looked at Yagamai Ryusuke who disappeared, but he was thinking in his heart, what exactly was the matter that Yagamai Ryusuke said he wanted to deal with? He always felt that Yagamai Ryusuke seemed to know a lot of things that they didn't know. In the past, it was fine when they were in ninja school. But since they graduated, Shikamaru felt that Yagamai Ryusuke seemed to be less and less able to hide his specialness. If Yagamai Ryusuke knew these thoughts of Shikamaru, I will definitely tell Shikamaru that the reason why he is hiding less and less is just because his current strength no longer requires him to continue doing this. Strong strength is the source of Yagamai Ryusuke's confidence. Of course. Yagamai Ryusuke also knows that he is not invincible yet. At least his strength has not reached the 6th level. But at least in the current stage of the ninja world, no one can beat him. When the fighting power of the ninja world is completely rampant, Yagami Ryosuke's strength must have reached the 6th path level long ago. At that time, even if the ninja world began to become a chaotic dance of gods and demons, he was still fearless. Akamaru, hurry up and smell where there are enemies. Let's try to go to a place with fewer people. Hinata, do you see an enemy with your Byakugan? Shino? Hey. Where did the Shino people go? I'm here. Abarame Shino patted Inyazuka Kiba on the shoulder. The former was so frightened that he jumped 4 or 5 meters high with a roar. Shino, why did you run behind me? Scared me. Inyazuka Kiba rubbed his arms. He had goosebumps just now. Abarame Shino was helpless. Because he had not changed positions at all. He had been walking behind Inyazuka Kiba from the beginning, but this happened. The guy seems to have no memory at all. This kind of thing has happened not once or twice. In the past month or so, he can't remember how many times he has experienced similar situations. What can he say? He can only carry it alone. Got it all? Yeah, Shino, there is a team coming from a kilometer away. At this time, Hinata suddenly reminded me. What? Then let's go to the other side quickly. Inyazuka Kiba said quickly. Aren't we going to grab the scroll of heaven and earth? Hinata asked in confusion. Of course we have to grab it, but we can't grab it blindly, we have to do it in a planned way. Inyazuka Kiba said matter-of-factly, for example, there are so many teams now, and we don't know whether the teams we encounter are strong or weak, so we have to observe first to see which teams are weaker. When the time comes, we will look for those weaker teams to attack. Bully the weak and fear the strong, I understand. Abarame Shino nodded, understanding what Inyazuka Kiba meant. Shino, what do you mean by bullying the weak and fearing the strong? This is called strategy, and I learned it from Shikamaru. Inyazuka Kiba emphatically emphasized that he learned this move from Shikamaru, as if he wanted to prove that it was not him, Inyazuka Kiba, but Shikamaru who bullied the weak and feared the strong. He just copied it? At this moment, Yagami Ryosuke's figure suddenly appeared in front of Hinata. Ah! Someone! Inyazuka Kiba was so frightened that he quickly threw out several shurikens. Whoosh! Whoosh! The shuriken flew past Ryosuke Yagami's ear. He didn't even move, but the result was that he ejaculated crookedly. Yeah, did you cheat in your shuriken throwing class when you were in school? Ryosuke Yagami looked back at the shurikens nailed to the ground and asked with a smile. Inyazuka Kiba. How embarrassing. Damn it, how could I miss it? Ryosuke, are you there? Hinata pulled Yagami Ryosuke and worriedly observed whether he was injured. It's okay, Kiba's shuriken's accuracy is so bad that it doesn't even make a pass. Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Inyazuka Kiba. You still say? What the hell? I hit it crookedly on purpose. I had already seen it was you, Ryosuke. Otherwise, if it were an enemy, I would have definitely aimed at the enemy's head. Inyazuka argued stiffly. Abarame Shino on the side stared at him. Shino, what are you looking at me for? Inyazuka Kiba looked a little guilty. My bugs tell me you're lying. Hinata said calmly. No, brother, you can't tear yourself apart even when things are tough. Why don't you even spare this last bit of face for me? Shino, long time no see. Yagami Ryosuke looked at Inyazuka Kiba, who looked angry with a smile, and then said hello to Abarame Shino. Long time no see, you are getting stronger and stronger. Abarame Shino nodded and said, my bugs are all afraid of you. Even if you are just close, they will want to run away like crazy. Is your insect sense so keen? Ryosuke Yagami was a little surprised. He had deliberately restrained his aura. Unexpectedly, Shino's bugs could still be sensed. Well, their senses are always sharp. Abarame Shino nodded. But in fact, if Ryosuke Yagamai hadn't deliberately restrained his aura, the bugs on Shino would have been so frightened that they flew away. Even Shino, the master, couldn't stop him. That kind of thing. It can still stay with Shino now. This is already the result of Ryosuke Yagamai's deliberate restraint. Hinata, what scroll did you get? Ryosuke Yagamai looked back at Hinata and asked. It's the scroll of earth. Hinata replied. That's just right. I have an extra scroll of heaven here. You can take it? Ryosuke Yagamai took out a scroll of heaven and handed it to Hinata. Next, he told Ino and the others what he had said before. After arranging a shadow clone to protect Hinata and the others along the way, he left here in a flash. A few hours later, Ino and the other 3 members of Team 10 finally arrived at the central tower. We finally arrived. It was too dangerous along the way. Fortunately, Ryosuke's shadow clone protected us. Ino patted the leaves, soil, and other things on his body, and urged Shikamaru to quickly take out the scroll of heaven and earth and open it. Ino, I just heard your voice inside. When I came out, I saw that it was you. At this moment, Hinata's figure suddenly appeared at the door of the central tower. Hinata. Are you here so soon? Ino looked at the surprise from inside. Come Hinata. Our 8th class is a perception team, so we can travel faster. Hinata explained. It was a white eye, a bug, and a dog. Their 8th team directly avoided the possible dangerous environment of other teams along the way, and it took less than 2 hours quite smoothly. It's time to reach the central tower. But we were not actually the first to arrive. There was a team from Tsunagakura village who arrived earlier than us. Hinata said. Ah. Anyone else arrived earlier? Ino was even more surprised this time. After all, the 2 teams could reach the central tower so quickly because Yagamai Ryosuke sent them the scroll of heaven and earth. So they didn't need to collect the scroll and went directly to the central tower. That's it? But the team from Tsunagakura village didn't get such treatment. In other words, they not only reached the central tower in the shortest time, but also grabbed the heaven and earth scrolls they needed from other teams in the middle. This is amazing. The Tsunagakura ninja carrying the gourd on his back was particularly scary. I just glanced at him and felt as if I was going to be killed by him. Hinata said with lingering fear. Are you okay? Ino asked with concern. Hinata shook her head and said she was fine. After all, this is the central tower and it is already a safe zone. No hands are allowed. That's good. Ino said with a breath of relief. Soon. Ino and the 3 of them also completed the final part of the second exam in front of the central tower, and then followed Hinata into the interior of the central tower to rest. Continued, Nyohaozhao, for the next 5 days, they can rest in the tower and wait for others to complete their exams. So far, they are the only 3 teams that have successfully reached the central tower. Somewhere in the forest of death, Naruto was shouting, rushing towards the enemy in front of him. On the side, Sasuke held his hands and stood there to hold down Naruto with a cold expression. Although Sakura next to him tried his best to attract Sasuke's attention was at this moment. They all focused on Naruto, not caring about Sakura beside him. A few minutes later, Naruto knocked out a genin with a kick, and successfully defeated the genin team on the opposite side with 1 against 3. Sasuke, Sakura, am I strong? Naruto laughed and ran back, shaking a scroll of heaven and earth he found from the other party as if offering a treasure. Naruto, look to see if it's the earth scroll. Sakura urged. After hearing this, Naruto also checked the scroll of heaven and earth in his hand. However, he found that it was the scroll of heaven that they already had, not the scroll of earth that they wanted. How could it be the scroll of heaven? Naruto looked disappointed and angrily threw the scroll on the ground. Pity. Sakura also looked disappointed. It doesn't matter, since it's not the scroll we need, let's find another team. Sasuke doesn't feel any pity or disappointment. With their strength, if they didn't get the scroll their team needs this time, then they can find another team. Except for Ryusuke Yagami, to be honest, Sasuke didn't take any other team seriously. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 104. In the Forest of Death. Naruto and Sasuke were eyeing another genin team. At this time, the three of them were hiding on a big tree, eavesdropping on the conversation of the three Tsunagakure genin below. They seemed to be discussing that Gaara, and their words were full of complaints and dissatisfaction with Gaara. Naruto looked at Sasuke, who was not far away. The latter nodded. The next second, Sasuke jumped out in an instant, and at the same time quickly formed seals with his hands, performing fire escape ninjutsu. Art fire escape ho fireball. A huge fireball in the sky was heading straight towards the three sand ninjas below. The three people obviously did not expect that they would be ambushed, and they dodged slowly for a while. Then, as soon as the three people avoided the huge fireball falling from the sky, he was instantly paralyzed by another Sasuke's lightning escape. Then this Sasuke used another thunder escape. The dazzling lightning went straight through the bodies of the two sand ninjas. They were killed in an instant. Only the last sand ninja escaped by chance, his eyes full of fear, and he ran away without looking back. Naruto! Sasuke shouted. The next second, a yellow figure fell from the sky. Konoha whirlwind. Bang! The Suna ninja who had just escaped was kicked back with a heavy blow. Sasuke stepped forward and killed the Suna ninja with the kunao in his hand. Plop! The body fell to the ground, as did Naruto and Sasuke look at each other and smile. Found it? It's the scroll of earth. Over there, Sakura found a scroll of heaven and earth from the body of a sand ninja, which happened to be the scroll of earth they needed. However, at this moment, bang bang bang. Who? The three of them instantly he looked warily towards the direction where the applause came from. Behind a big tree, a figure slowly walked out from behind the tree. As expected of a descendant of the Uchiha clan, Sasuke, your performance really makes me satisfied. Who are you? Sasuke's eyes were fixed on the man who came out from behind the big tree. The man's face was long and narrow, his eyes were like a snake's, and his pale skin made him look like a dead man. At this time, the big snake came out from behind the tree. Maruya looked at Uchiha Sasuke in front of him with a smile on his face, his eyes were as if he was appreciating a piece of art. -330. Uchiha Itachi, your brother is also outstanding. Orochimaru thought. He will never forget what Uchiha Itachi Soken did to him. When he was still in the Akatsuki organization, Sojin tried to take Uchiha Itachi's eyes. What a pity. Because it was replaced again and again. Container, so much so that Orochimaru's soul is already missing. Orochimaru, who was once fully capable and had almost no shortcomings, was instantly killed by Itachi Uchiha with a genjutsu. For Orochimaru, this is definitely a what a shame. Although that person was Uchiha Itachi who massacred the entire clan, he was also the Cold Lord Orochimaru, one of the legendary three ninjas. In terms of seniority, he was the senior of Uchiha Itachi. Zenjin was in the Third World War II. Orochimaru, who was all-powerful in battle, had he ever been so embarrassed? Even when he defected from Konoha, he was not as embarrassed as that time. Therefore, after encountering the Uchiha Itachi incident, Orochimaru set his sights on Uchiha, the blood of the HA clan. If he was just curious at first and wanted to study Uchiha Itachi's kaleidoscope, then after being killed by Uchiha Itachi with an illusion, Orochimaru coveted the blood of the Uchiha clan. He wanted to use this to make up for his weakness in genjutsu, and at the same time take revenge on Uchiha Itachi. Kill two birds with one stone. This time, he launched the Konoha collapse plan. Not only did he want to send his teacher Sarutobi Hiruzen away. At the same time, I also came here to personally inspect my target, Uchiha Sasuke. To see if he has the talent like Itachi. Now it seems that even if Uchiha Sasuke is not as good as Uchiha Itachi, he is worthy of it. The Uchiha clan. At a young age, they already possess the strength that can be regarded as an elite among Chunin. Waiting for another 2 years, it is more than enough to become a Jounin. Such talent is enough to satisfy Orochimaru. Become him the container for the next reincarnation is just right. Hello. Who are you? Do you have anything to do with Sasuke? Naruto looked at Orochimaru, who had a malicious look on his face, and felt very unhappy. The other person just stared at Sasuke, but completely ignored his own existence. His performance just now was obviously very good. Naruto, come back quickly, this guy is an enemy. Sasuke shouted to Naruto. Ah! Naruto looked back at Sasuke. At this moment, Orochimaru suddenly stared, and a terrifying murderous aura instantly enveloped the 3 people in front of him. What? Sasuke instantly felt as if he couldn't move. This feeling was even greater than the Zabuza he met last time in the Wave Country mission. Zabuza's murderous intent was already terrifying. Sasuke even almost contemplated suicide at that time. Thoughts? However, in comparison, the murderous intent of the enemy in front of him was more than 10 times more terrifying than Zabuza's. Under such a terrifying murderous intent, Sasuke found that he could not even make a basic counter-attack and could only sit back and wait for death. Damn it! I've obviously been working hard to improve my strength, why is this still the case? Sasuke gritted his teeth and tried desperately to make his body move. On the other side, in the sealed space inside Naruto's body, Ninetales also opened his eyes and glanced at the situation outside. Orochimaru. Isn't Naruto taking the Chunin exam? How did you meet this guy? Kuwabai was a little puzzled. Although he didn't care much about things between ninjas, because he was sealed in the Jinchuriki's body, he could also observe the outside world through the Jinchuriki's eyes. Therefore, he also knew a lot of things that happened in the past. For example, Orochimaru defected to Konoha. He heard it mentioned by Namikaze Minato. Naruto, you idiot. That's Orochimaru. With your current abilities, do you want to rush up and deliver food to people? Don't run yet. Kuwabai noticed at this time that Naruto was actually charging towards Orochimaru, and he couldn't help but cursed loudly. Stinky fox, I don't care about Orochimaru and Zayashemaru, look at your uncle Naruto's 3000 Naruto bombs. Naruto yelled and rushed forward. In an instant, hundreds of shadow clones swarmed Orochimaru. This move of 3000 Naruto's bullets was learned from Xiao Li. At this time, he used multiple shadows to the technique of clone. After using this move, hundreds of shadow clones swarm forward, and the power seems to be full. Kuwabai boy. Orochimaru glanced at the hundreds of Narutos rushing up and sneered lightly. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. He was not interested in Uzumaki Naruto, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Orochimaru Sasuke's target was only Sasuke from beginning to end. As for the other 2, he didn't pay attention at all. I don't have time to play with you right now. Orochimaru casually separated an Earth clone, and after letting the Earth clone deal with Naruto, he himself rushed towards Sasuke. Sasuke, be careful. Sakura from behind saw the scene and couldn't help shouting. Wind escape. Wind cut technique. Several sharp wind blades were released from Orochimaru's hand, instantly cutting Sasuke in front of him into several pieces. Sasuke. Sakura's eyes widened in fright, and she almost fainted. Brush. At this moment, a Sasuke appeared behind Orochimaru. At the same time, the Sasuke who was cut into several pieces also turned into a cut wood pile. Thunder escape. Pseudo-darkness. Suzuki shouted, and a thunder spear in his hand instantly stabbed Orochimaru in front of him with his back to him. But the next second, Suzuki, this little trick is useless to me. A slimy and cold voice like a snake sounded in Suzuki's ears. His eyes widened in horror for a moment, and he watched in disbelief as Orochimaru was pierced by the lightning gun and turned into a pile of dirt. And in Suzuki's eyes, behind him, the real Orochimaru was laughing, grabbing Suzuki's neck with one hand, and then smashed him to the ground. Boom! A cloud of smoke and dust flew everywhere. Suzuki coughed and quickly left the place, while quickly forming seals with his hands. Directly he used a go fireball technique to blast over there. When the flames of the fireball explosion dispersed, the smoke and dust were blown away. Suzuki found that except for a hole on the ground that was blown up by the go fireball, there was no one there at all. Where are people? Suzuki immediately observed the surroundings vigilantly, and was careful to be careful of the opponent's sneak attack. On the other side, the earth clone that Orochimaru had created before also knocked Naruto down. At this time, Naruto was lying on the ground with a bunch of snakes on his body. He was entangled tightly, and a huge snake was crawling towards the side while swallowing the snake's message. "Ah! You stinky snakes, let me go!" Naruto yelled and struggled. But the snakes summoned by Orochimaru were not ordinary snakes. They were stronger than ordinary snakes, and their bodies were also very tough. No matter how hard Naruto struggled, he couldn't break free. At this time, then a big snake opened its bloody mouth and swallowed Naruto on the ground together with the snakes that were wrapped around him. Ah! Naruto, who was swallowed into the big snake's belly, was so frightened that he screamed repeatedly, but the sound soon disappeared as the big snake closed its mouth. Damn it! Naruto! Suzuki noticed the scene and immediately rushed over to rescue Naruto. But at this moment, Orochimaru's figure suddenly emerged from the ground, sneered, and hugged him from behind. "Suzuki-kun, you seem to care about your companions," Orochimaru said with a sneer. "Asshole! Who are you? Genin definitely don't have the strength like you." Suzuki struggled to break away, and then looked at Orochimaru over there with fierce eyes. "Haven't I introduced myself to Suzuki-kun? That was really negligent on my part." Orochimaru's eyes greedily glanced at Suzuki in front of him. Suzuki didn't like the other person's look, as if he was a dish on the other person's plate. "It's disgusting. It's also hateful. Suzuki-kun, you must remember this. I am Orochimaru. Please remember it carefully. This name, because I will be the one who completely changes your destiny," Orochimaru said with a smile. Orochimaru? Suzuki recalled carefully and found that he had never heard of this name. "Why did you attack us?" Suzuki asked. "Of course it's because of you, Suzuki-kun." Orochimaru smiled and said, "Come on, Suzuki-kun, let me see how far you can reach. Compared to Uchiha Itachi, I am more interested in you." "Uchiha Itachi?" As soon as he heard this name, Suzuki's eyes changed instantly. "Uchiha Itachi? Do you know Itachi Uchiha?" He shouted. "Tell me quickly, where is he?" "Oh. Does Suzuki-kun hate Itachi?" Orochimaru sneered. "He killed my father and mother, and also killed so many people from my tribe. What's wrong with me hating him?" Suzuki clenched his fists with angry hands and said viciously, "Tell me quickly, where is Itachi Uchiha? Want to know the whereabouts of Itachi Uchiha?" Orochimaru said with a smile, "Then, Suzuki-kun must defeat me before I can tell you the answer. Then I will defeat you." Suzuki roared and rushed forward. Once the matter involves Uchiha Itachi, he will lose his usual calmness. At this moment, Suzuki may have forgotten how he was teased by Orochimaru before. He even said so brazenly. Defeated Orochimaru. But Orochimaru quite appreciated Suzuki's enthusiasm. He smiled and rushed towards Suzuki. What happened next? What Sasuke faced was naturally another battle, like a cat playing with a mouse. It's said to be a battle, but it's actually more like Orochimaru testing Sasuke's abilities in all aspects to see if they meet his expectations. The test results also made Orochimaru quite satisfied. However, just to this extent, it is not enough to become his container. Especially the pair of Sharingan, only one has evolved into a double Megatama. Orochimaru is also not sure whether the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan has such a case of single-eyed evolution. Anyway, he had never seen it before. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 105. Brush. Ryosuke Yagami suddenly stopped and looked in a certain direction in the distance. Has the fight started yet? He muttered. Immediately. Yagami Ryosuke directly used the teleportation technique to disappear in place, and rushed in that direction faster. A few minutes later, Yagami Ryosuke had already seen the destroyed area. In the forest area, he landed on a big tree and looked down at the situation below. In the middle, a big snake with its belly exploded was lying on the edge, and then Naruto, covered in blood, was being beaten by Orochimaru. On the other side, Sakura is supporting Sasuke, who seems to be unconscious past. It's a little late, it seems to be almost over. Ryosuke Yagami thought to himself. At this time, Naruto was also tied up by Orochimaru with his own body. This scene looked a bit weird. After all, no normal human body can do this. But if this person is Orochimaru, then it will be no problem. Brush. Ryosuke Yagami jumped down from the tree and landed on the ground. Ryosuke. Run! Naruto shouted loudly as soon as he saw him. Let Ryosuke Yagami run away. Oh! Is he your companion? Orochimaru looked at Yagami Ryosuke, who had just arrived, and looked at him with a sinister look. Yagami Ryosuke, I seem to have heard this name mentioned by someone. Orochimaru said with a cold smile. Does that person refer to Danzo? Ryosuke Yagami smiled, pointed at the tied Naruto and said, I'm sorry, this guy is my friend, I didn't know you could. Can't you let him go first? Idiot Ryosuke. Run. You can't beat this guy. Naruto was still shouting anxiously over there. Naruto, seeing you looking so angry, I knew that you should be fine. Ryosuke Yagami said with a smile. Naruto. Is now the time to talk about this? No. Why is this guy Ryosuke more reckless than me? At this time, Orochimaru also let go of Naruto, but at the same time, his neck instantly extended infinitely, appearing directly in front of Ryosuke Yagami. Bang! Ryosuke Yagami instantly pulled out the ninja sword from his waist and blocked the attack of the Kusanagi sword held by Orochimaru in his mouth. The response was good. Orochimaru smiled and retracted his neck. The man with the long neck is pretty good too. I wonder where he learned the skill of extending and shortening his neck freely? I have a friend who also wants to learn it. Ryosuke. Yagami said with a smile. Haha. Want to learn? Then why don't you, Ryosuke-kun, follow me and leave here? Forget it, I have no intention of leaving just yet. Haha. Is it just temporary? Orochimaru suddenly realized that Ryosuke Yagami was quite good, but it was a pity that he was not of Uchiha blood. Ryosuke, why don't you leave? Naruto ran over and said to Ryosuke Yagami. Naruto, go over there and take care of Sasuke, he seems to have fainted. Ryosuke Yagami pointed to Sasuke, who was being supported by Sakura over there. As for this guy, just leave it to me, he said. Ah! Sasuke. As soon as he heard that Sasuke had fainted, Naruto immediately hurried over to check the situation. Ryosuke-kun seems to be very confident in his own strength. Orochimaru looked at him with a smile. If we are just dealing with an enemy of your level, I don't think it would be a difficult task. Yagami. Ryosuke said calmly. So confident, Orochimaru didn't take it seriously. He obviously didn't take Yagami Ryusuke's words seriously. He just sneered and looked at the young man in front of him. Who hasn't been young and frivolous? Right? Zenjin's Orochimaru is also like before him. Yagami Ryusuke was so confident. He thought he would not lose to anyone. Then he was taught how to be a man by a guy named Sancho Hanzo. After that, Orochimaru learned from the painful experience and began to engage in research, and his strength continued to grow with age. Was improving. Just when he thought that he was no longer the Orochimaru who was taught how to be a man by Sancho Hanzo, another Uchiha Itachi came out and taught him how to be a man once again. And this time he lost even more miserably. He was even killed instantly. This made Orochimaru so embarrassed that he continued to stay in the Akatsuki organization and chose to defect again. Since then, Orochimaru has completely understood what it means to have a world outside the world and a world outside the world. Someone. This made him understand a truth. That is, never take yourself too seriously. You never know whether the person standing in front of you will teach you how to be a good person. However, Orochimaru obviously does not think that Yagami Ryusuke can teach him how to behave. After all, no matter how talented he is, there is a limit. Uchiha Itachi is so strong because he was born into the Uchiha clan. It was the Sharingan that gave him great strength. And what about Ryusuke Yagami? A civilian genius. No matter how talented he is nothing more than that. After all, his age limits him. In the forest of death, a chilling atmosphere filled the air. Ryusuke Yagami glanced at Naruto and Sasuke over there. 3. At this moment, Orochimaru in front of him suddenly launched an attack. In an instant, Orochimaru seized an opportunity when the opponent was slacking off, and with perfect accuracy, as if he had rehearsed it countless times, he used the kusanagi in his hand. The sword pierced Yagami Ryusuke's chest. But the moment the kusanagi sword pierced his body, Orochimaru's expression changed. Because the next second, the whole world around him changed. The sky turned blood red, a blood moon hung high in the sky. The surrounding trees turned dark, and they showed their teeth and claws, as if an evil ghost was stretching out its claws. And Ryusuke Yagami, who had just been pierced by him, was also missing. Even he and himself were nailed to a cross. Genjutsu. Orochimaru's face suddenly became extremely ugly. Genjutsu is what he hates the most. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Mr. Orochimaru seems to dislike this place very much. Why? At this time, a burst of footsteps came from the front. Orochimaru looked over and saw Ryusuke Yagami walking towards him with a smile on his face. Ryusuke-kun's strength is even better than I imagined. Although Orochimaru was trapped by Yagami Ryusuke's illusion, he did not look panicked. He is worthy of being a legendary Sunin. This concentration alone is not something ordinary ninjas can possess. Unfortunately, Mr. Orochimaru's strength makes me a little disappointed. Ryusuke Yagami walked up to Orochimaru and stared at him. I thought Orochimaru, one of the legendary 3 ninjas, could bring me some surprises, but unfortunately, I didn't expect that just this level of illusion would be helpless. Orochimaru's face also became more and more ugly with Yagami Ryusuke's words. He was laughed at by a junior, and it was true. This made Orochimaru couldn't help but burn with anger. He was dignified. Lengjun Orochimaru, since when did he seem to be able to laugh at himself? Orochimaru even had the illusion that any ninja could kill him with just an illusion. But the fact is, of course, it's not like this. Although Orochimaru has a weak soul, his resistance to illusions has become very poor. But no matter how bad he is, he can still affect the strength of the ninja. Not just any ninja who knows illusions can deal with it. The reason why Yagami Ryusuke's illusion makes Orochimaru unable to resist is because his illusion is too strong. In itself, The illusion he is currently performing is modified by him combined with the illusion of the Sharingan, and the level it has almost reached A at the same time. Yagami Ryuzyuk also has 500% illusion bonus attribute. The actual effect of this illusion is only slightly worse than Uchiha attackist Tsukuyomi. This level of illusion, can it be used by ordinary ninjas? Even a ninja like Kurane Yui, who became a jonin with genjutsu, is completely unable to use genjutsu of this level. Therefore, it is not that Orochimaru is too weak. It is Ryo Yagami. Suk was too strong. Moreover, he directly attacked Orochimaru's weakest genjutsu from the very beginning. Didn't he just kill Orochimaru instantly? In the genjutsu space, Ryusuke Yagami stabbed Orochimaru with a knife. The severe pain made Orochimaru frown. But he could still bear it. Mr. Orochimaru is indeed a legendary Sunin, and his endurance is really good. Ryusuke Yagami praised Orochimaru. However, this kind of praise, like an elder teaching a younger generation, made Orochimaru feel more uncomfortable and angry than being stabbed 100 times. I am always fair in doing things. Mr. Orochimaru stabbed me once before, so now I will give you 10 stabs to Mr. Orochimaru. Mr. Orochimaru, you have to hold on. While speaking, Ryusuke Yagami did not stop moving his hand. He stabbed Orochimaru one after another. Soon, all 10 stabs were done. Ryusuke Yagami put the knife away as he said. Then looking at the surrounding scenes, Orochimaru found that he could already move freely. Sit down, Mr. Orochimaru. Ryusuke Yagami stretched out his hand to indicate. Orochimaru stared at him with cold eyes, and after a while he sat down as he was told. Ryusuke-kun's research on illusions is really amazing. Even I have never heard of such an illusion space. Only then did Orochimaru have the intention to look at this illusion space. The illusion space was like the real world, so he couldn't tell whether it was the real world or the illusion world. Such illusions, let alone his soul, were resistant to illusions. His nature is weak. Even in his heyday, it was quite difficult to resist or dispel such illusions. Orochimaru, what is your purpose in coming to Konoha this time? Ryusuke Yagami stopped being polite to Orochimaru and directly asked him the purpose of coming to Konoha. After hearing this, Orochimaru's eyes also flickered, and he didn't know what he was thinking in his heart. Don't want to say it? Ryusuke Yagami poured himself a cup of tea. Although this is a fantasy world, many things feel the same as the real world. For example, this cup of tea. Whether it's the heat rising from it or the feeling when you drink it, they are all exactly the same as the real ones. I wonder what Ryusuke-kun thinks of Konoha. Orochimaru did not immediately answer Ryusuke Yagami's question, but instead asked him what he thought of the village. What do you think? Konoha is my home, and there are people I love here, but my love is very narrow and cannot accommodate such a large village, so as long as it has nothing to do with me and the people around me, I don't care. Ryusuke Yagami took a sip of tea and said calmly. And after hearing Ryusuke Yagami's answer, Orochimaru also showed a knowing smile on his face. He understood the meaning of Ryusuke Yagami's words. He cares about the people around him. As for other people in this village, he doesn't care whether they live or die. Is Ryusuke-kun interested in the position of Hokage? Orochimaru asked suddenly. Naruto, Ryusuke Yagami shook his head, I'm not interested in this position. I don't want to have to stay in the office all day long and review documents one after another at a young age. Ryusuke-kun sees things very clearly. Orochimaru said with a smile. At this moment, he suddenly felt that Ryusuke Yagami in front of him was not as annoying as before. Although this guy has a bit of a venomous tongue when he speaks and likes to hurt people's hearts. But I have to say that in some aspects, he is still quite with his temper. So, Ryusuke-kun, how about you cooperate with me? Orochimaru said, my goal this time is my dear teacher. As for other things, I don't care. As long as Ryusuke-kun doesn't stop my plan, We can become friends. What can I get? Ryosuke Yagamai asked straight to the point. What does Ryosuke-kun want? Orochimaru asked. He didn't know what Ryosuke Yagamai wanted. If he didn't have what Ryosuke Yagamai wanted, there was nothing he could do about it. The art of reincarnation from dirty soil. Yagamai Ryosuke said, I want your improved filthy soil reincarnation technique, and some cells of powerful ninjas. I also need it. As long as you give me these things, I can ignore whatever you do in Konoha. Of course, the premise is that your plan will not hurt the people around me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 106. The Art of Reincarnation from Dirty Soil. Orochimaru thought for a moment, then nodded and agreed to Yagamai Ryosuke's request. Okay, after it's done, I'll have someone bring you the jutsu of reincarnation and the things Ryosuke-kun needs. Orochimaru said. No need, I will go to the Sound Ninja village to find you when the time comes. Ryosuke Yagamai shook his head and said. Hearing this, the pupils in Orochimaru's eyes couldn't help but shrink. Ryosuke-kun knows that I'm in the Oto Ninja village. He asked tentatively. Yagamai Ryosuke glanced at Orochimaru in front of him, smiled and said, Orochimaru, I know far more things than you think, so don't use your little cleverness. I used it in front of me. That will only embarrass you more. The corner of Orochimaru's mouth twitched slightly. He cursed Ryosuke Yagamai in his heart for speaking so unpleasantly and not saving him any face. Fortunately, this is Ryosuke Yagamai's illusion space. There was no dialogue between them. The third person can hear. Okay, we've finished what we should talk about, you can go out. Yagamai Ryosuke poured the remaining tea on the ground, and the surrounding scenery began to distort and deform in an instant. The next second, Orochimaru found that he had returned to the original Forest of Death. And Ryosuke, Naruto, and the others, all figures have disappeared. Ryosuke Yagamai. Orochimaru muttered this name, and then his figure slowly disappeared into the Forest of Death. Okay, you're safe now. Ryosuke Yagamai stopped and said to the three of them who shouted 400 in front of them. Ryosuke, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, we would probably be killed by that terrible guy. Naruto also looked frightened at this time. When he was beaten just now, he seemed to be fearless, but now he calmed down and thought about it, he found that the situation just now was really dangerous. Ryosuke, thank you. Sakura also thanked Ryosuke Yagamai. Okay, you can take care of Sasuke here. His situation is a bit complicated. When you get to the central tower, explain it to Kakashi, and he might be able to find a solution. Ryosuke Yagamai glanced at Sasuke, who was still unconscious, and said to Naruto and Sakura. In fact, Ryosuke Yagamai thought that letting Sasuke go to Orochimaru would be a good thing for him. In Konoha, a person with Sasuke's personality is destined to not get any good training. With only Kakashi teaching Sasuke, there is no way to train Sasuke as well as Orochimaru. You know, because Orochimaru regarded Sasuke as the container for his next reincarnation, it can be said that he spared no effort to invest all kinds of resources in Sasuke's training. If it weren't for Orochimaru, how could Sasuke have achieved such strength in just 3 years? If you don't follow Orochimaru, Sasuke will soon be thrown away by Naruto, who has Jiraiya's teachings. And hope that Jiraiya can teach Sasuke a lesson? Don't think about it. If Jiraiya doesn't think that Naruto is a prophecy son, he didn't even bother to teach Naruto. You know, Naruto is the son of Namikaze Minato. And Jiraiya is Namikaze Minato's master. With such a relationship, Jiraiya has not come to Konoha for so many years. He visited Naruto even once, although it was partly because he was very disappointed with his teacher and didn't like some of Haka's temperament. But to be honest, if Naruto didn't have that kind of character, Jiraiya would really not be able to do it. How close they would be to him. Even Naruto is like this. Let alone Sasuke, who has nothing to do with him. I also know that Jiraiya will not be able to teach Sasuke. But Tsunade will not. After all, they are the same Uchiha, a Senju. It is impossible for Tsunade to accept Sasuke as his disciple. Only Orochimaru is the most suitable person to train Sasuke in the early stage. Of course, if Ryosuke Yagami is willing, he is more suitable to teach Sasuke than Orochimaru. On the one hand, Ryosuke Yagami knows more than Orochimaru. On the other hand, Ryosuke Yagami himself also has the Sharingan, and his understanding of the Sharingan is more thorough than that of Orochimaru. If there are more eyes, it can better help Sasuke open his eyes. As we all know, most of the power of the Uchiha clan is concentrated on this pair of eyes. The same is true for Sasuke. The level to which his eyes are opened will determine the level of his strength. 3 Megatama. When he was young, he was an elite Jounin. When he turned on the kaleidoscope, he had a shadow level strength. After turning on the eternal kaleidoscope, Sasuke had already reached a super kage level of strength. And when the Sage of Six Paths came in person to trick Sasuke, after helping Sasuke open the one-eyed reincarnation eye, Sasuke's power once reached the 6th level. Therefore, training Sasuke is actually very simple. On the one hand, let him learn to control his power freely and be able to exert it 100%. On the other hand, help him open his eyes. From double Megatama to triple Megatama to kaleidoscope, they can all be opened successfully with the help of external factors. Only the eternal eye can be opened with the help of Uchiha Itake's eyes. But even if no one helps Sasuke in this step, Uchiha Itachi himself would personally give his own eyes to his dear brother. After all, Uchiha is the younger brother. However, Yagami Ryosuke has never considered this matter. Let him train Sasuke? Is that possible? He might as well go on a date with his girlfriend. Therefore, Sasuke and other matters should be left to Orochimaru. This is why Yagami Ryosuke did not ask Orochimaru to remove the curse planted on Sasuke. On the one hand, Orochimaru would not agree. Then he would agree, but he was just pretending to be a snake, and he might turn around and plant a new curse seal on Sasuke. On the other hand, Ryosuke Yagami also wanted Sasuke to go to Orochimaru. So I just ignored the curse seal thing. After placing Naruto and the others here, Ryosuke Yagami left. After all, he wasn't Naruto and Sasuke's nanny. There is no need or obligation to stay here to protect them or anything like that. After leaving Naruto and the others, Ryosuke Yagami went straight to the central tower. He has already collected the scrolls of heaven and earth. Just got Orochimaru's biopheromone from him again. Next, all that's left is Jiraiya's biopheromone. There's no rush. Jiraiya hasn't arrived in Konoha yet. Have to wait a few more days. When Jiraiya arrives in Konoha, it won't be too late for Ryosuke Yagami to find him. It's only a few days anyway. In a few days, Ryosuke Yagami will have another gold level talent entry added to his body. Speaking of which, when the system first awakened, Yagami Ryosuke had obtained 7 gold level talent entries in a row in the past 2 days, which almost made him think that gold level talent entries were easy to obtain. But later I realized that it was because Naruto and Sasuke were around in the early stage. After Naruto and Sasuke were gone, 2 golden talent entries were successfully transformed into Kakashi and Metkai. Other than that, they are all purple or even lower level talent entries. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Finally, we have to add another golden talent entry, and Ryosuke Yagami is also looking forward to it. Brush. Ryosuke Yagami, who was rushing to the central tower, suddenly stopped. His ears twitched and he followed his gaze to the direction to his left. The next second, he instantly changed his direction and flew towards the left. 10 seconds later, Ryosuke Yagamai stopped. At this time, in the forest below, a red-haired girl was looking at the three ninjas from Yuyan village surrounding her with a horrified expression. "Don't come here." Xiangren looked at the three rain ninjas approaching in front of her in horror and helplessness. She subconsciously wanted to shout for help, but then she thought that this was the forest of death, and it was still in Konoha. No one would come to save her at all. And her two companions had already died at the hands of the three rain ninjas in front of her. She saw with her own eyes how the other party brutally killed her two companions. At that time, Xianglin was so frightened that she just thought he ran away in a panic, but accidentally twisted his foot. "Little girl, don't be afraid, your brothers will take good care of you." "Haha. I didn't expect that when I take a Chunin exam, I will get such an unexpected reward. Brothers, shall we go together later? Or come one by one?" The three rain ninja looked at Xiangren, who had been forced to the point of no retreat, with a ferocious smile. They did not take this grass ninja seriously, even if he tried to escape, even if his legs were crooked. 0. Such a weak female ninja has no value at all in the ninja world except for being bullied. Generally speaking, when a ninja encounters such a weak kunoichi, he will directly choose to kill him. Because they are also afraid that the boat will capsize accidentally in the gutter. But these three rain ninjas are obviously more courageous. Or perhaps he was obsessed with ghosts. In short, they didn't want to directly kill Xianglin in front of them. But prepare to relax first and then talk. "Don't come here." Xiangren looked at the three rain ninjas in front of him in horror. The only kunao left in his hand was waving around wildly, trying to scare them away. What a pity. Xiangren's action was obviously harmful to the three rain ninjas. It's not a deterrent. The other party is not afraid of her at all. It's over. Or should I commit suicide? It's better than being bullied by them. Xianglin thought desperately. The kunao in her hand was ready to scratch her neck. "Right here, Hello. Need help?" Xianglin, who had been desperate just now, suddenly heard a voice coming from above her head. She subconsciously raised her head and looked over. Under the wisps of light passing through the dense leaves, a godlike figure stood in the tree with his back to the sun go up. Xianglin couldn't see the other person's appearance clearly. But at this moment, she seemed to see a holy light shining on this man, making him look so sacred and majestic. "Brat! Stay out of your own business." The three rain ninjas frowned and looked at Ryosuke Yagamai on the tree, and said viciously. Of course they were not happy that their good deeds were interrupted. "It's pretty cool to be a scumbag." Ryosuke Yagamai laughed disdainfully. The next second, poof. A series of cutting sounds merged into one. Then, the three rain ninjas who were very arrogant just now screamed and fell. Falling to the ground. Their arms and legs were all cut off by Ryosuke Yagamai. At this time, blood spurted out from the wounds of their severed limbs, and the severe pain stimulated their nerves, making them scream in agony. Saved. When Xianglin saw this scene, her tense nerves relaxed instantly, and then she felt a dizziness coming over her eyes. At this moment, strong hands supported her. "It's okay now." A gentle voice sounded in her ears. Xianglin raised her head dizzily and looked at the savior in front of her. "Okay, so handsome." Xianglin's cheeks turned red instantly. It went red directly to the base of my ears. "May I have your name?" Ryosuke Yagamai asked. Incense 1.3, "My name is Uzumaki Incense." Xiangren told Yagamai Ryosuke her full name without even thinking about it. She completely forgot that her mother had told her countless times not to tell strangers her full name. "My name is Ryosuke Yagamai, a ninja from Konoha." Yagamai Ryosuke said, "Are you injured? Do you want to sit down and take a rest?" He is so gentle. Xianglin looked at Yagamai Ryosuke in front of her with a face full of obsession. She felt that the sufferings she had suffered in the past suddenly became unimportant. Even, she felt that the sufferings she had suffered in the past, all in exchange for today's encounter. What is this called? This is called joy after suffering. Xianglin swears that she will never marry the man in front of her in this life. Xianglin? Xianglin. Ryusuke Yagamai waved his hand in front of Xianglin's face. However, the other party looked at his appearance infatuatedly and showed no reaction at all. Although he knew that Xiangrin had nymphomaniac attributes, Yagamai Ryusuke didn't expect it to be so serious. Or is he too charming? Directly amplifying Xianglin's nymphomaniac attribute. Ryusuke-kun. Thank you for saving me. Xianglin finally came to her senses at this time. She quickly thanked Yagamai Ryusuke for saving her life, then looked at him infatuatedly and said, I don't know how to repay you. Why don't you just let me be your friend, your girlfriend? Ryusuke Yagamai. No, isn't this a bit too direct? Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 107. Stop talking nonsense. Where are your teammates? Ryusuke Yagamai did not agree to Xiangrin's request, which made Xiangrin a little disappointed. However, after hearing his inquiry, Xiangrin answered honestly he died because he was killed by the three of them. The three rain ninjas on the ground have already died in pain. Naturally, they can't hear Xiangrin's accusation at this moment. Then I will send you to the outskirts of the Death Forest, and then you can go out on your own. If Xiangrin is left alone in the Death Forest, it will obviously be like letting her wait for death here. After all, the Death Forest is not only filled with genin teams participating in the second Chunin exam. At the same time, there are also beasts in the forest itself. Poisonous insects, etc., are all fatal threats. Therefore, Yagamai Ryusuke is also a good person and will do it to the end. Simply send her to the outskirts of the forest. As for sending her to the central tower, Xiangrin does not have a scroll of heaven and earth, and her teammates also he was killed. Even if he went to the central tower, he had to be kicked out. Ryusuke-kun, can't I follow you? Xiangrin looked at Yagamai Ryusuke with a look of reluctance, not wanting to leave his side. No, I still have to go to the central tower, but you can find a hotel in the village to stay for a few days. I will go find you after the second exam is over. Yagamai Ryusuke didn't agree to let Xianglin stay with him, but he gave her a suggestion. Really? Xianglin's eyes lit up and she said. Liangji-kun, are you really going to find me? Don't worry, I will definitely find you. Ryusuke Yagamai assured. Although Uzumaki Kaori is a bit of a nymphomaniac, if this nymphomaniac is for him, Ryusuke Yagamai said that this is not a shortcoming, but an advantage. Then it's settled. You must come find me then. Xiangrin looked up at Yagamai Ryusuke helplessly, looking pitiful like a kitten abandoned by its owner. Don't worry, I will definitely do what I say. Now I'll send you to the outskirts of the Death Forest. Ryusuke Yagamai took Xiangrin's hand, and immediately sensed the coordinates of a flying thunder god 05. He left on the outskirts of the Death Forest, and disappeared with her in an instant. Near the entrance of the Death Forest, near Gate 15. Yagamai Ryusuke appeared here with Xianglin. Xianglin still looked a little confused. We are here. You go out through this exit. Outside is where the previous exam started. There will be Konoha ninjas guarding outside. You just need to tell them that you want to withdraw from the exam. Also, take the money and go to a better hotel to rest for a few days. Yagamai Ryusuke warned Xiangrin while giving her a stack of money. It's not much, only 200,000 taels. It's just 2 days pocket money for Ryusuke Yagamai. That's a lot of money. Xiangling has never seen so much money. She looked at Ryusuke Yagamai with a moved face, her eyes turned red. Ryusuke-kun, you are so good to me, why don't I be your girlfriend? Ryusuke Yagamai. Is this the second time? Let's talk about it later, go out first. Yakami Ryusuke pointed to the exit over there. Although Xiangrin was reluctant to leave, he still walked towards the exit obediently. He soon left the forest of death. Seeing that Xiangrin had left safely, Yagami Ryusuke then he left again with the Flying Thunder God technique, returned to the previous position, and then continued to rush to the central tower. Half an hour later, Yagami Ryusuke successfully arrived at the central tower. He took out the scroll of heaven and earth on his body, and then opened it in front of the tower. With a flash of smoke, Irika's figure also appears in front of you. Congratulations, Ryusuke. Irika smiled and congratulated you successfully passed the second exam. You can rest in the central tower for a few days. You can leave here after the second exam is over. Teacher Irika, are all the candidates channeling your shadow clone when they arrive here? Ryusuke Yagami asked curiously. In fact, he has always been very good at this question. That's not true. Only the students of your class will be explained to you by me after passing. Irika said. Yagami Ryusuke nodded, although he was not sure what the principle behind this was. But it could be regarded as answering a doubt in his mind. Come on in and get some rest. Irika said with a smile, and then with a bang, the shadow clone disappeared. Just rest for a few days. Ryusuke Yagami raised his head and glanced at the high tower in front of him, and then walked in. In the next 5 days, Ryusuke Yagami and the other candidates who had passed the second exam in advance were in the central tower. While resting, he waited for the exam to end. In the meantime, Ryusuke Yagami also converted Orochimaru's biopheromone into a talent entry, and obtained the second entry of Legendary Sunin. Orochimaru's Legendary Sunin the entry is similar to Tsunade's. However, Tsunade adds physical skills and medical ninjutsu, while Orochimaru's entry adds ninjutsu and the research ability of forbidden arts. In addition, it is also the sage mode of Ryokai Cave. Cultivation method. Yagami Ryusuke has already tried the sage mode cultivation method in Shija Forest before. That thing requires a special environment and external objects to cooperate, otherwise the success rate is frighteningly low. Therefore, Yagami Ryusuke did not rush. The training method of Ryoji Cave sage mode obtained this time is similar, and the sage mode of Ryoji Cave can easily make you look like a human or a ghost. Yagami Ryusuke doesn't like it very much. So it's the same. He has not really started learning. He still plans to wait until he collects 3 Legendary Sunin talent entries, and then fuses them to get a golden Legendary Sunin talent entry. When the time comes, he will take a look at the advanced words after the fusion. What kind of sage mode training method will be included in this article? Wait until then, and then consider whether to practice, or which kind to practice. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Ryusuke Yagami took a rare rest 5 days. Every day I walked around the tower with Hinata and Ino, or gathered with other people to play chess or something. The 5 days were not boring. I didn't feel the time very much. With the passage of time, the second Shuyunin exam has ended. Naruto and the others arrived at the central tower when the 5th day of the exam was about to end. Previously, Ryusuke Yagami almost thought that they were going to run out of time. Fortunately, they were not late. And the reason why it took so long was actually because they still had a burdensome relationship. And this burden was Kabuto Yakushi. This guy's strength was obviously at the elite Jonin level, but he had to be pretending to be an ordinary genin. Thanks to his good acting skills. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Neither Naruto nor Sasuke could tell that he was acting. Yo! Isn't this a wide forehead? Why are you so embarrassed? On the first floor of the central tower. All the candidates who passed the second exam are gathered here. Yagami Ryusuke and the other candidates who arrived early were also notified and came over. As soon as they came in, Ino saw the embarrassment. Sakura couldn't help but smile and joked. In Woibor, you just have someone to help you, why are you so arrogant? Sakura retorted angrily. Ino smiled and hugged Yagami Ryosuke's arm. Not only was he not angry, but he looked very happy. That's right, I just have Ryosuke to help me. I heard that Ryosuke saved your life once before. Aren't you going to say thank you? Ino said with a smile. Sakura's teeth were itching with anger, but she couldn't speak to Ino. There was no way, whoever told Ino to tell the truth was the truth. Who made her boyfriend so powerful, and she? Forget it. Sakura now feels more and more that she is the redundant person in this team. During the 5 days in the Death Forest, she was unable to help in every battle. Although Sasuke and Naruto didn't say anything. But Sakura could feel that neither of them regarded her as a fighting force in the team, but more like a pendant. This point, even if Naruto is always in front of Sakura and behind Sakura all day long, he actually thinks so in his heart. There is no way. Sakura's strength cannot even be defeated by some genin. Compared with Naruto and Sasuke, whose strength is constantly improving, the gap is even greater. Of course there is nothing I can do to help. If in the original work, when Sasuke and Naruto were in coma, Sakura still had some performance. So now, she really has no chance to show off at all. I have already thanked Ryosuke, but what about you? It's not you who saved us. Sakura retorted angrily, and then she didn't want to talk to Ino anymore. It was nothing more than what she could say, and she was afraid of revealing her timidity if she said too much. At this moment when Sakura and Ino were bickering, Sarutobi over their Hiruzen also announced that there will be a preliminary round before the third official exam to eliminate a group of people. The candidates who pass the second Chunin exam can choose to continue or give up. This time, it is no longer a team battle, but an individual competition. So if an individual gives up, it will not affect other people in the team. Here no wide for it. Otherwise, you should abstain. After Ino heard this rule, she deliberately said to Sakura. In fact, she was caring about Sakura in her heart. Looking at her embarrassment, she must be very tired. If there is any preliminaries at this time, almost he was destined to lose. Since he was already defeated, why bother to go up and get beaten up? He might as well give up. What a pity. Sakura didn't hear Ino's concern and thought that Ino was laughing at her. Originally she really wanted to give up, mainly because she felt that she was so useless and there was no way she could win if she continued to participate in the qualifiers, so she might as well just give up. But hearing what Ino said made Sakura not want to give up. No, otherwise, at least I can't be underestimated by Ino. I think you are the one who should abstain, right? Cut. What else can you do besides being tough talking? I can also hit people. Do you want to try my fist? Yo 500. How many months after graduation do you have enough energy? How about we have a fight later? Who is afraid of whom? Just fight. The two of them were arguing and looking like they were about to start a fight. Moonlight Hayate, who had just been assigned as the examiner, looked at it and coughed twice to remind them that the preliminaries hadn't started yet. However, Yagami Ryosuke always felt that Moonlight Hayate's eyes always glanced at him. Is this guy still remembering what happened last time? Yagami Ryosuke thought to himself. Last time he had dinner with Yuki Yogan, and then he was seen by Moonlight Hayate. Then this guy got a little drunk because he drank some wine, which made the atmosphere very unpleasant. Later, Uzuki Zien also said that Moonlight Hayate came to her to apologize. Uzuki Zien also accepted his apology, but also he said that everyone should just be ordinary colleagues from now on, which made Moonlight Hayate feel very uncomfortable. I heard that he would often go to izakaya to get drunk. I wonder if he has met Asuma there? Yagami Ryosuke was thinking randomly in his mind. While following the others, we came to the stands on the second floor. Really, after finally passing the second exam, Why did Kabuto-senpai quit? Naruto was still muttering to the side, looking incomprehensible. Ryosuke Agami glanced at him and thought, if Kabuto Yakushi doesn't quit, what if the Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen sees something? Come on, that would be tragic. However, as a genin who has participated in so many Chuunin exams in a row and quit before the third game each time, even if he has not exposed any details, he is already very suspicious. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not stupid, and he will definitely send someone to investigate him. However, after the Chuunin exams, Yakushi Kabuto no longer needs to stay in Konoha as a spy. It doesn't matter if he is exposed. Sasuke, how are you feeling? Kakashi walked up to Sasuke at this time and asked him. Naruto and Sakura had just told him about Sasuke, and also mentioned an important name, Orochimaru. Kakashi didn't know what Naruto and the others were talking about. Is Orochimaru the one he knows? If so, then the problem is serious this time. I can still hold on. Sasuke's face was a little pale. He still couldn't fully adapt to the curse mark that had been planted just a few days ago, which caused him a lot of trouble. However, he felt that he could hold on for a while, at least until the end of the qualifiers. Let's talk again. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 108. Hearing Sasuke's answer, Kakashi frowned slightly. In his opinion, the most important thing now is to deal with the curse mark problem on Sasuke. After all, this is related to an S-level rebellious ninja like Orochimaru. God knows what kind of curse mark he will leave on Sasuke. But seeing that Sasuke was unwilling to leave at the moment and insisted on waiting for the preliminaries to be completed before dealing with the curse mark on his body, even though Kakashi didn't agree with it, he couldn't get rid of Sasuke and could only agree. If you can't hold it any longer, tell me immediately. Kakashi said. After hearing this, Sasuke gritted his teeth and nodded. While feeling severe pain and dizziness, he looked at the names scrolling on the screen over there. The first game, Uchiha Sasuke vs Akatsuki Kai. The examiner, Moonlight Hate, glanced at the name displayed on the screen and announced loudly. Great, I am the first. Sasuke secretly rejoiced when he saw this result. It was very hard for him to endure it, and he was thinking to himself just now, if I were ranked at the back, it would be very disadvantageous for me. But I didn't expect that I was ranked first. Go ahead. Kakashi was secretly relieved when he saw this result. It seems that the situation he reported to the Hokage before has been taken seriously, so Sasuke was arranged to compete in the first game. What? You said this was random? Haha. Then you are too naive. You know, this is Konoha. As the organizer of this Chunin exam, how could Konoha not give some preferential treatment to the ninjas in his own village? Such a secret operation in the ninja world, these are all normal things. Almost everyone knows it. As long as they don't go too far, no one will pursue anything. And some ninjas from small countries can only hold it in themselves even if they feel unhappy. After all, being able to participate in such a joint Chuunin exam is itself an opportunity for these small country ninja villages. In such a grand competition, they can show their ninja talents to those wealthy businessmen, even if they are just familiar to them. In the future, these wealthy businessmen will need to announce during the mission, you may also think of them. Compared with the ninja villages of the 5 major countries, the biggest advantage of these small countries is that they charge less mission rewards. If these wealthy businessmen want to save some money, they can naturally choose come to them to issue missions. Therefore, even if they are bullied by the ninja villages of the 5 major countries in the joint Chuunin examination, these small countries will grit their teeth and endure it. The next time the joint Chuunin examination is held, they will still be active. Participate. Will definitely not be absent. Brush. Brush. 2 figures landed on the competition field on the first floor. Suzuki's condition did not look good. When he landed, he felt a little unnatural. This scene fell on the opposite side of him. The opponent's red body armor couldn't help but reveal a sneer in his eyes. Beat the drowned dog. For ninjas, there is no saying that they must fight fairly and justly. Ninjas themselves are good at calculations and do all kinds of things. Assassination, sneak attacks, a profession that uses all possible means. Fair and impartial? Do you think a samurai? Game start. After Moonlight Gale announced loudly, he retreated to the outside. Kid, you don't look like you're in a good condition, haha. This time you will give me an advantage. The red body armor smiled proudly. But Suzuki opposite him rushed forward in an instant, without any intention of saying any more nonsense to him. Kakashi-sensei, will Suzuki be okay? Sakura grabbed the railing with both hands and looked at Suzuki below with a worried expression. Don't worry, Suzuki is much stronger than his opponent, so even if he is in a bad state, nothing will happen. Kakashi said calmly and analyzed. The strength of the red body armor is not very strong, and although Suzuki is in extremely poor condition because he is not adapted to the curse seal. But as long as the battle is resolved quickly, there is still no problem in winning this battle. Big. Almost as soon as Kakashi's words fell, the battle on the field was already decided. The red body armor, which was very arrogant and proud just now, was like a dead dog now. He was lying on the ground motionless. If you look carefully, you will find that his eyes are still spinning in circles. He has completely lost his fighting ability. Uchiha Suzuki wins. Moonlight Gale came off the field and announced the result of this game. Great, Suzuki. Sakura jumped up happily. Well done, Suzuki. Naruto also shouted happily. However, after Suzuki returned to the stands, he almost stumbled and fell to the ground. Brush. Kakashi appeared next to Suzuki in an instant and picked him up. I need to take Suzuki for treatment, so you can do your best next. After Kakashi said something to Naruto and Sakura, he took Suzuki and disappeared into the stands. Suzuki. Sakura stood there with a worried look on her face, looking at the direction where Kakashi disappeared, worried about Suzuki's situation. Sakura, Suzuki will be fine. Naruto comforted her and said. Well, Suzuki will definitely be fine. Naruto, you have to work hard later. Sakura rarely said cheers to Naruto, which made Naruto very excited, thinking that his efforts finally touched Sakura, as if he had seen the arrival of spring. Sakura, after the game is over, let's go see Suzuki together. Naruto said. Sakura nodded absently. Her mind was no longer here at this moment. The next few games made Ryusuke Yagami yawn. It was so boring. A group of genin fighting was really nothing to watch. Head. Fortunately, at this time, it was finally the turn of the person Ryusuke Yagami cared about to come on stage. The next match is Yamanaka Ino vs Hyuga Hinata. Moonlight Hate glanced at the screen and announced loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, his unsatisfactory body couldn't help coughing. He looked as if he was about to die on the spot at any time, which scared Hinata and Ino who had just left. He looked at the examiner with a worried look. Before the two of them could decide the winner, the examiner who had been coughing would have died first, right? Fortunately, Moonlight Hate's physical condition was not really bad yet. At that point, after coughing for a while, he announced the start of the game. Then he retreated to the sidelines. Hinata, how long has it been since we competed? Ino asked with a smile. It's been more than half a year. Hinata counted on her fingers and said. Last time, the last time, and the previous times, it seems that I lost to you, but this time I will not give in easily. Ino said with a smile, but in fact she really didn't have much confidence in being able to beat Hinata. Ino is actually not the kind of person who is very ambitious about his own strength. To read Bao's Huang novels, go to Fila Novel Network. What she likes more is flower arrangement and cooking. She started learning to cook when she was 11 years old. Now for more than a year, she has mastered her skills very well. At least in this aspect, Hinata can't compare with her. It's like Hinata has always wanted to be able to help Yagami Ryusuke in the battle and fight side by side with the man she loves. Ino also wants to cook meals that satisfy her beloved man and make him happy. As for fighting, just leave it to Hinata. Ino knows her strengths and weaknesses. In terms of combat ability, no matter how hard she tries, she can't catch up with Hinata. So she just spends 3 days fishing and 2 days drying the net, and puts more focus your energy on other aspects, so that at least Ryusuke Yagami can have a hot and delicious meal after finishing training. Ino, you are actually very powerful. Okay, I actually have a clear understanding of my own strength, but as for Hinata, she can definitely do it. So, come on, show your full strength and let someone see your progress. Ino said with a smile. After hearing this, Hinata on the opposite side also raised her head and looked at Ryusuke Yagami in the stands. It happened that Ryusuke Yagami was also looking towards her, and their eyes met in mid-air. For a moment, Hinata's face couldn't help but blush, and she nodded firmly with her eyes. I will definitely try my best. The momentum is very good. Bring it on. Ino put up a posture, waved his hands, and instantly threw 6 or 7 shurikens at Hinata on the opposite side. Hinata also opened her eyes, and waved her hands to bring up bursts of air, which directly flew away the hand thrown by Ino. Shuriken, throw them back towards Ino himself. Haha. It's this move again. I've seen through your move, Hinata. Ino rushed forward with a smile, and the two of them immediately started fighting. In the stands, Ryusuke Yagami looked at Hinata below, who was trying hard to show off the results of her training, and was also happy for her. Sojin's Hinata was shy. Low self-esteem, dare not look at each other when talking, and can't help but faint after saying a few words to Ryusuke Yagami. But now Hinata is brave and confident. Dare to express herself under the gaze of everyone. The true thoughts in his heart are that he is no longer afraid of showing off his talents as in the past, and has the courage to face various difficulties in life. Yagami Ryusuke does not think that all of this is his credit. Hinata can change today because of it is the result of her own efforts. And Yagami Ryusuke only played a role of supervision and just gave Hinata a motivation to work hard. Hinata is becoming a better version of herself. And the same is true for Ino. They have all found their own goals and meanings in life. They are working hard for it and keep moving forward. To be honest, Ryusuke Yagami is very glad that he can be liked by them, and he is very fortunate that he is young and promising and does not feel inferior. Otherwise, he would really miss such an outstanding girl. He had no place to cry. So, even if it is just to protect this hard-won love, I will continue to become stronger until I have enough strength to face any enemy without fear. Ryusuke Yagami silently watched the two people fighting on the field and swore secretly in his heart. He would never allow anyone to hurt these two kind-hearted girls. Unexpectedly, this eldest lady of the Zone family, have you been working hard too? Hyaga Niji looked at Hinata, who was showing superb bagwazang skills on the field, and couldn't help but frown. Although he didn't want to admit it, Niji had to admit at this time that Hinata did go with him. In my impression, the eldest lady who can only cry is very different. They are like two completely different people. All of these, is it all because of him? Niji looked at Ryusuke Yagami, who was paying all his attention to the two girls on the field, and was very curious in his heart, what kind of magic power did he have? He could actually make Zheng Jin, who could only cry, the eldest lady of the Zone family with a nose, has undergone such earth-shaking changes. Is this the power of love? Niji felt that he didn't understand it at all. He didn't even like a girl, how could he understand? Xiao Li on the side, at this moment he was inexplicably moved and began to cry. Niji, who had been looking serious just now, suddenly had a strange expression on his face. He silently moved a few steps to the side, trying to pretend that he didn't recognize this person. Guy. Woohoo. Niji, did you see it? This is the power of youth. Xiao Li wiped away his tears and nose while coming over to hug Ningji. No, you don't come over. Niji's face was full of resistance, but he was still hugged by the excited Xiao Li. Xiao Li, please let me go. Ningji felt that everyone around him must be looking at the two of them. Even though he usually had a paralyzed look on his face. Now he was blushing in embarrassment. It's so embarrassing. How could I be like this? Teammate. At this moment, Niji even had the idea of wishing that he had not passed the second Chunin exam. In this way, he at least would not have to suffer such an embarrassing scene. On the side, Tian, as a teammate of the two, he had already secretly moved to the side. I don't have such teammates, I don't know either of them. I muttered silently every day, pretending not to know these two guys. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 109. Bagua. 64 palms. On the field, Hinata used the Hyuga clan's soft fist Bagwazang, covering Ino with 64 palms, and finally defeated him. The defeated Ino did not look at all depressed, but smiled and waved to indicate to the referee that the result was announced. This made Moonlight Hate, who was standing outside the court, return to the court speechless, and then announced Hinata as the winner. Congratulations, Hinata. Ino smiled and hugged Hinata, holding her in circles for several times before putting her down. Ino, I didn't hurt you, right? Hinata asked worriedly. Of course not. Ino patted his arm. You see, nothing's wrong with me, it's just that the chakra in my body can't be used temporarily. Seeing that Ino was really fine, Hinata was relieved. She was just afraid that she had really injured Ino. That would be terrible. The two returned to the stands and hurriedly ran to Yagami Ryosuke. Ryosuke, wasn't Hinata awesome just now? Ino said with a smile and hugged his arm. Yagami Ryosuke looked at Hinata with approval, stretched out his hand to gently hug her in his arms. Hinata's face turned red after being watched by so many people. Hinata, I'm proud of you. Hinata, who was leaning her head on Yagami Ryosuke's chest, heard this and raised her head to look at him. The two of them looked at each other, and they both saw their own figures in each other's eyes. Ryosuke, what about me? Ino said with an aggrieved look on her face. Yagami Ryosuke looked at her with a smile, hugged her in his arms and said, Ino, when the exam is over, I want to eat the fried pork cutlet you made. Okay, I recently developed a new way to fry pork chops. The fried pork chops will be more tender and juicy, which is delicious. Ino laughed and said happily. People around looked at the three of them, and many of them looked envious. It's great to be young. Some people sighed in their hearts. They thought they were like this when they were young. Of course. They are not as lucky as Ryosuke Yagami, who can hug each other, and one is the eldest daughter of the Yamanaka family, and the other is the eldest daughter of the Hyuga family. To be honest, they can already imagine the relationship between the Hyuga clan leader and Yamanaka. The clan leader looked distressed. The cabbage he had raised for more than 10 years was lost to a wild boar? How can it not be heartbreaking? After 830, Yui Kurane also came over to congratulate Hinata on her successful promotion. Sister Hong, when the qualifiers are over, let's go to my house to celebrate. Ryosuke Yagamai suggested. Just celebrate with Hinata and the others. Yoi Kurane didn't dare to look at Yagamai Ryosuke's eyes. Recalling the scene during the first exam, she still couldn't help but her heart beat faster. To be honest, she really couldn't continue to treat Yagamai Ryosuke now. I treat him simply as a younger brother. This guy, but you are greedy. Hong-san, come together, Hinata, don't you think so? Ryosuke Yagamai took Yoi Kurane's little hand and said to Hinata next to him. That's right, Teacher Hong, let's come together. Hinata also invited. Unable to resist the invitation of the two, Yoi Kurane finally agreed. On the other side, while the four of them were talking, another game on the field had also ended. At this time, Moonlight Hate also landed on the field, glanced at the screen and announced loudly the next match, Rock Lee vs Kankuro. Teacher Kai, I'm going to fuck you. Xiao Li jumped up excitedly and said loudly to the teacher met Kai on the side. Go ahead, Xiao Li, it's time to prove yourself. Mate Kai smiled and gave a thumbs up to Xiao Li, with a look of pride on his face. Xiao Li is indeed the most proud disciple of Mate Kai. In comparison, if it is said that he brought out Tian Tian and Niji, if he is a student, then Xiao Li is an outstanding disciple who he has devoted his whole life to training. There is still a difference between a disciple and a student. Brush. Kankuro jumped from the stands and landed on the field. Hello. That watermelon head over there, can you hurry up? He urged impatiently to Xiao Li, who was still inexplicably excited in the stands. Sorry to keep you waiting. Xiao Li landed in front of Kankuro and said with an apologetic expression. Stop talking nonsense, this time I want you Konoha ninjas to see the power of crows. Kankuro looked confident. His opponent was just a watermelon-headed idiot. He was not worried about losing at all. Oh. Is it Xiao Li's turn? Ryosuke Yagamai also noticed Rock Lee on the court at this time, and looked at his opponent in surprise. Unexpectedly, this time Rock Lee's opponent was actually Kankuro. In this case, Xiao Li can successfully advance to the third official match. After all, as Xiao Li, he couldn't beat Gaara, a one-tailed Jinchuriki, but he still had no problem beating a half-assed puppet master like Kankuro. This match, Xiao Li is sure to win. Yagamai Ryosuke saw Kankuro on the court looking arrogant and didn't take Xiao Li seriously, and couldn't help but look forward to his expression later. Later, Xiao Li would after the beating, I wonder if Kankuro can still be as arrogant as he is now. Ryosuke, do you think highly of this Rock Lee? Hinata found that Ryosuke Yagamai seemed to admire this genin named Rock Lee. Because Rock Lee was a teammate of his cousin Ningji, Hinata had observed it before. He seemed to be a ninja who only knew taijutsu. Could it be that this is Rock Lee's physical skills very powerful? Rock Lee? His strength is almost the strongest in this Chunin exam except for a few special cases. Ryosuke Yagamai still has a very high opinion of Rock Lee. Although there is only one Emperor Kai, Rock Lee's strength cannot be underestimated. Kakashi, who had just returned from the side, looked at Ryosuke Yagamai in surprise. Gee! This was the first time he heard Yagamai Ryosuke speak so highly of someone. Juvenile. You have a very good taste. Not far away, Metkai said to Ryosuke Yagamai with a smile. He looked happy. His disciple was praised, and the person who praised him was a super genius of this generation, and he had an elite at a young age. The strength of a jonin. With such a person recognizing Xiao Li, of course Metkai would be happy for Xiao Li. Isn't this what Xiao Li has always wanted? Xiao Li is really strong. Besides, Naruto nodded seriously. He often trained with Master Metkai, so he knew Xiao Li's strength very well. Naruto had competed with Xiao Li many times before. But without exception, he never won. Of course, that was when Naruto didn't use the Raise Non. But didn't Xiao Li also use the 8-gate dungeon? Ryosuke Yagami's approval and Naruto's affirmation made Xiao Li even more excited on the court. But Kankuro opposite him looked impatient. Just a watermelon-headed idiot. Still very strong? I believe you. As the moonlight blast announced the start of the game, Kankuro immediately controlled his puppet. The crow rushed forward. Come on, crow. Teach this watermelon-headed idiot a lesson. Kankuro was full of confidence. But the next second, bang. Xiao Li used a Konoha whirlwind and kicked the puppet crow that rushed forward and slid back more than 10 meters away. So strong. Kankuro looked a little surprised. But if he only had enough strength, he would just have to prevent the crow from confronting this watermelon-headed idiot head-on. As a puppet master, Kankuro felt that this was too simple. ACF is not difficult at all. Watermelon head, you're in trouble. To read exciting novels, go to Fila Novel Network. Kankuro laughed and controlled the crow again to rush forward for the second time. Big whirlwind in Konoha. Xiao Li yelled and rushed forward, kicking the ground with various bangs. A shallow pit was made. The crow that dodged attacked Xiao Li from one side. Bang. 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 Both sides. They were fighting back and forth. Kankuro seemed very confident at first, but gradually he felt a little guilty. What happened? Why is this guy so fast? Kankuro was completely unable to control the crow to cause effective damage to Xiao Li. On the contrary, Xiao Li occasionally hit the crow, which caused some damage to the internal parts of the puppet. You know, puppets are very delicate tools. If there is a slight problem with the parts, it will be completely unusable. At this moment, Kankuro, who was full of confidence just now, also realized that the watermelon-headed idiot in front of him was not so easy to deal with. Could it be that the heroic words he had released before it can't be realized, right? In that case, Gaara will definitely be angry. Thinking of Gaara being angry, Kankuro couldn't help but be so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat. No, I can't lose. There's no way I can lose to this watermelon-headed idiot. Kankuro is about to launch his own special move. His crow is not only capable of these moves. Kankuro is most proud of some of his secret skills. So far, he has only used 2 of them. There are more moves that are useless. Once used, Kankuro is confident that he can defeat the watermelon-headed idiot in front of him. On the other side, Xiao Li also retreated a distance instantly after being unable to attack for a long time. Teacher Kai, I'm going to untie myself. He shouted loudly. In the stands, Met Kai also smiled and said, Xiao Li, just do what you want. Let everyone see the fruits of your efforts. On the field, Xiao Li nodded heavily and immediately took off the weight-bearing straps on his limbs. Cut. What did I think it was? It turned out to be just a load. Kankuro said disdainfully. But the next second, boom. Several loud noises. The weight that Xiao Li put down actually made several holes in the ground. Kankuro. A group of genin. No, are you sick? Wearing such a heavy weight? Aren't you afraid of breaking your bones? This weight seems to be at least 1,000 kilograms, right? This is too messy. Kai, you really know how to mess around. Kakashi shook his head and said to Met Kai beside him. That's right. This is Xiao Li's youth. Met Kai laughed and said. Kakashi. Did you hear exactly what I was saying? On the court, Xiao Li, who had unloaded his weight, showed that he was much faster than before. In the past, Kankuro's crow could keep up with Xiao Li's speed, and even occasionally posed a certain threat to Xiao Li. But now, the crow can no longer keep up with Xiao Li's speed. I saw this puppet being repeatedly beaten back and forth by Xiao Li. No matter how hard Kankuro tried to control it, it was to no avail. In the end, Xiao Li directly hit the shadow dance leaf, smashing Kankuro's crow into pieces all over the sky in mid-air. No. My crow. Kankuro looked at the puppet fragments scattered all over the sky with a distressed expression. This is his most proud masterpiece. Unexpectedly. Damn Konoha watermelon head. Kankuro looked at Xiaoli fiercely. Only to find that there was no one there at all. What? Kankuro subconsciously felt something was wrong. But the next second, bang. Powerful prelude. A fierce frontal attack sent Kankuro flying in an instant. Kankuro hit the wall hard, leaving a crack mark. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, rolled his eyes, and fainted. Passed. Medical team. Moonlight Hate came off the field, called the medical team to carry Kankuro away, and then loudly announced the result of the game. Rock Lee wins. Yeah. Xiao Li jumped up excitedly. Then he jumped into the stands, hugged each other excitedly and cried bitterly. Niji and Tenten, who were just about to congratulate him, looked back and silently backed away, pretending not to recognize these two guys. Xiao Li. Nice. Ryusuke Yagamai looked at Xiao Li and Metkai, who were hugging each other and crying excitedly. He also smiled and nodded. Xiao Li didn't meet Gaara, so he avoided having his bones broken by Gaara. And in this way, he will not waste so much time on cultivation, and can continue to train and further improve his strength. You must know that during the Chunin examination, Lock Lee's strength was definitely among the top-ranked Konoha juniors. At the forefront. But what happened after that? Due to the impact of injuries, Xiao Li was unable to practice. He could only lie in bed all day to recuperate. As a result, his strength was surpassed by other Xiaoqiang. In the end, his performance can only be said to be average, not as good as in it was so amazing during the ninja exam. Being in Konoha, I can upgrade my talent entries. Author, MRMO. Chapter 110. Kankuro was lucky to be carried away. Because at this time Gaara in the stands was staring at Xiao Li over there with murderous eyes. The taijutsu prowess demonstrated by Xiao Li aroused Gaara's interest. Certainly. Gaara's interest is usually in killing each other. If Kankuro had not been carried down at this moment, but had walked back, I'm afraid he would have been taught a lesson by Gaara, which would have been much more miserable than being knocked unconscious by Lee. Next game, Ryusuke Yagamai vs Tenten. Ryusuke Yagamai, who was congratulating Xiao Li just now, was stunned when he heard his name. Tian. My opponent is Tian? People from my own village fighting against people from my own village. What about the secret operation as promised? In fact, it's not that Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't want to do a secret operation. It's that the people he can't advance to the next game are all from Konoha. Look at these people who are promoted now. Suzuki Uchiha, from Konoha. Rock Lee, from Konoha. Hinata, from Konoha. There are Shino Abarame and Shikamaru Nara in front of them. These are all ninjas from Konoha. So many people have been promoted in Konoha. If more Konoha ninjas are deliberately arranged to be promoted, if so, other ninja villages will definitely have objections. Therefore, Ryusuke Yagamai will be arranged to fight Tenten in this match. In this case, Tenten will be eliminated. Although the ninjas of Konoha will still be promoted, the eliminated ones, aren't they also Konoha ninjas? In this way, people from other villages won't have such objections. No, my opponent is Ryusuke. When I see this result every day, I am also speechless. Tian, come on. Xiao Li on the side was still cheering for her loudly. But Tian really couldn't cheer up at all. That's Ryusuke Yagamai. A genius who joined Umbu after graduation. Let her fight against Ryusuke Yagamai. Isn't that right? He was definitely eliminated. So, listless Tian jumped from the stands to the field. When he saw the apologetic Yagamai Ryusuke opposite him, he could only smile a few times. Come on, even if I know I will lose, I won't give up easily. Cheer up every day and change your listless look before game start. After Moonlight Hate made the announcement, he left the venue directly. He handed over the venue to the two of them. Ryusuke, I'm going to fuck you. Tien Tien shouted. Yagami Ryusuke nodded and did not take the initiative to attack. He planned to let Tien Tien show himself well first, and then take action. Ninjutsu. Hidden weapon combo. Tien Tien swiped and took out a seal scroll. After untying it in an instant, he directly controlled a large number of hidden weapons inside to shoot towards Yagami Ryusuke. Dozens of hidden weapons came densely. Yagami Ryusuke just dodged casually. By doing so, you can avoid all the hidden weapons in Tien Tien. It's not over yet. Look at my special move, Double Dragon Ascension. Tien Tien instantly threw two seal scrolls. The scrolls unfolded one to the left and one to the right, surrounding them in all directions. The next second, more densely packed hidden weapons flew out from the scrolls, and each hidden weapon was connected to a steel wire. Controlled by Tien Tien, he can attack back and forth. Ding ding dang dang. At this time, Ryusuke Yagami pulled out the ninja sword from his waist and used the extremely fast sword speed to knock out the hidden weapons controlled by Tenten. In the blink of an eye, the two had fought for many rounds. Tien Tien also showed off his superb ability to control hidden weapons. But that's about it. Seeing that Tenten had no other moves, Ryusuke Yagami instantly slashed away several hidden weapons in front of him with his sword, and then rushed in instantly. The tip of the sword was already touching Tenten's white jade neck in the next second. I lost. Tien Tien put down his hand in frustration and said. Brush. Ryusuke Yagami immediately put the sword back into its sheath. Your concealed weapon control is excellent, but I suggest you learn some other moves, such as swordsmanship or physical skills. Ryusuke Yagami said. Well, I'll give it a try. Tien Tien nodded and humbly accepted Yagami Ryusuke's suggestion. At this time, Moonlight Hate also came back and announced the results of the competition. Ryusuke Yagami wins. He glanced at Ryusuke Yagami, with a look of jealousy in his eyes. This guy, why do so many girls like him wherever he goes? But I. Moonlight Gale was thinking about it and couldn't help but cough violently again. Heart hurts. Returning to the stands with Tenten, Yagami Ryusuke was also hugged by Ino, who ran over. Okay, come down quickly, there are so many people watching. Yagami Ryusuke helplessly patted Ino's back and asked her to get off him. Hinata next to her was not as unrestrained as Ino. She was embarrassed to jump directly on Yagami Ryusuke's face in front of so many people. Go on your body. Next game, Gaara vs Ken Mizumi. Invite two contestants to the stage. Moonlight Hate announced the two sides of the next match. Almost as soon as he finished speaking, a piece of sand gathered on the field to look like Gaara. He stood there with his hands folded coldly. Even if there was nothing else, the movement, just a look, made Moonlight Hate feel frightened. What happened to the Tsunagaku Genin? Why does it give me a terrible feeling? Moonlight Hate looked at Gaara and thought. At this moment, Ken Michin also jumped down from the stands. Let's get started, he said coldly. Moonlight Gale glanced at the two people, then announced the start of the game, and then exited directly outside the field. Little devil of Tsunagaku, don't worry, it will be over soon, Ken Michin said lightly. Opposite me, Gaara looked at him with cold eyes. After Jian Michin finished speaking, Gaara directly shook his right hand. Sandbound coffin. What? Jian Michin's eyes widened in surprise, looking at the sand wrapped around his body. He didn't realize when the other party moved the sand to his feet. This kind of attack, it's completely impossible to guard against. Just when Ken Michin wanted to break away from the sand, Gaara on the opposite side shouted. Sandstorm funeral. Gaara's cold voice fell. As a burst of terrifying power struck, Jeonmichan didn't even have time to let out a scream, and was instantly crushed to pieces by the sand that wrapped him. Poof! Blood was wrapped in sand and splashed everywhere in the examination room. After finishing all this, Gaara looked coldly at the examiner, Moonlight Hayate. The latter couldn't help but feel a chill in his back, but he still stepped forward and announced the result of this match. Gaara wins. After the result was announced, Gaara directly used Sand Shun to return to the stands. From the beginning to the end, the expression on his face did not change at all. It was as if he had killed a Kenmaizumi and trampled to death an ant. Same. This made many ninjas in the stands frown and look at him. Especially the ninjas of Konoha. After all, the sword Michan who was just killed by Gaara belongs to their Konoha. Read Bao's Huang novels, just go to Fila Novel Network. But what these people don't know is that Kenmaizumi is actually a spy planted in Konoha by the Oto ninja village. He is from Orochimaru. What a scary little devil. Too arrogant. He actually killed someone directly. Sand ninjutsu. It's a bit like Kazekige's magnetic escape. This kid is so lawless. Where does he think this is? Many Konoha ninjas looked at Gaara over there with dissatisfaction. However, Gaara never glanced at these people from beginning to end. His eyes were always locked on Yagami Ryusuke, and Xiao Li, the two opponents he likes. Kill them and mommy will be happy. Gaara's eyes flashed with crazy killing intent. This terrifying killing intent even made Temari standing next to him turn pale. What happened to this guy named Gaara? How dare he kill someone here? Ino looked in disbelief at Kenmaizumi who was killed just like that. Although she didn't know him at all, she was still a ninja from the same village. Now that she was killed by a ninja from Sunagakure village, Ino naturally felt uncomfortable. What's more, this Gaara's methods are so cruel. He is simply a monster. Hinata, if you meet Gaara in the third exam, be careful. Ryusuke Yagami said at this time. Hearing this, Hinata also nodded. She was also frightened just now. When had she ever seen that scene of blood and flesh splattering? Although she thought this was called Gaara from the beginning, the guy was very scary. But Hinata didn't expect that the other person would be so scary. He squeezed the person to death as soon as he came up. Hinata, if you meet that guy, be sure not to distance yourself. That guy's ninjutsu seems to be very suitable for attacking targets from long distances. Ino also reminded. Hinata nodded and wrote them all down. After Gaara, the only thing left is the last 1.2 games left. The first match is Haruno Sakura vs Temari. Although Sakura has tried very hard to defeat Temari, but the strength gap between the two sides is too big. He was quickly defeated by Temari and lost the qualification to participate in the third official competition. Then, the last battle is Naruto vs Inyazuka Kiba. This time Naruto did not end his opponent with a fart like in the original novel. Instead, he relied on his physical skills to directly defeat Inyazuka Kiba in a head-on battle. Inyazuka Kiba used a level 720 ninja as Gattaga Kiba. Facing Naruto, who was far more powerful than him, no matter how unconvinced he was, he could only lose unwillingly. Back in the stands, Inyazuka Kiba looked disappointed. Just at this time, Abarame Shino patted his shoulder. Shino, it's better for you. Ya looked excited. You have a good rest, I have to prepare for the third exam. Unexpectedly, Shino Abarame pierced Inyazuka Kiba's heart as soon as he opened his mouth. In an instant, Inyazuka Kiba felt that the world in front of him had turned gray and lost its color. Tired, destroy it. Follow. The last match between Naruto and Inyazuka Kiba is over. Next, it is time for the winners to be drawn into the official groups for the third exam. Because Sasuke has been sent to the hospital at this time, he is automatically ranked the last one, whoever gets a bye then will be Sasuke's opponent. I am number 1, which of you is no 2? I am number 4, are any of you number 3? I am number 8, who is no 7? Ryosuke Yagami also looked at the number ball in his hand at this time. There was a number written on it 10. I am number 10, Hinata, what is your number? Ryosuke Yagami looked at Hinata beside him and asked. I am number 5. The number ball in Hinata's hand was written with the number 5. At this time, another person holding the number 6 came over. It turned out to be Hinata Niji. He glanced at Hinata Tien, held the number ball in his hand and then said calmly, I won't let you go. After saying that, Niji turned around and left directly. Ninkai brother. Hinata looked at Niji, who turned to leave, and then silently glanced at the number ball in his hand. Fight with all your strength, it can be regarded as a kind of respect for Niji. Ryosuke Yagami hugged her gently and said. Well, I will try my best. Hinata nodded and said seriously. In fact, Hinata's current strength is not inferior to that of Ningji at all, and is even stronger than Ninkai's. Hinata can do what Ninkai can do. And Hinata can do it. Niji may not be able to. Ryosuke, I found out who is number 9. At this time, Ino ran over. Number 9 is the Tsunagakura ninja named Tamari. Ryosuke, you are going to hit a woman again in the third game. Ino said with a snicker. Yagami Ryosuke. On purpose? Is it intentional? First Tenten, and now Tamari. Why don't you arrange for me to be Hinata? Yagami Ryosuke looked over there, and sure enough he saw Tamari looking towards him. The two looked at each other, Yagami Ryosuke's eyes full of helplessness. But Tamari's eyes were a little complicated. Ryosuke-kun, in another month we will be enemies. She thought to herself.